Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
New Seas Ahead by Peacelight24. Nakama means you never have to say goodbye or be alone, in which Monkey D. Lucy, future Pirate King, and Roronoa Zoro, future world's greatest swordsman, are dumb and everyone else is long-suffering. Or, things with them are always do or die, and love is just the same. Nakama ship, pining, Zorox Femme Lucy. Adios.
Lucy has never understood her grandfather's utter devotion to the Marines. She's never understood the appeal of rising in an organization. Lucy has always, unfailingly, understood people best. People are most important, them and the freedom to live the way she wants. Live for a dream. It's why she wanted to be a pirate even before Shanks showed up. Lucy doesn't have a problem with the Marines, or even with the world government in general. She just doesn't care about them, doesn't see why she should live her life by their rules when she can make her own. And until now, that was the extent of her thoughts on the matter. But now here she is, in the heart of a government compound whose sole purpose is to process people their own corrupt system deems guilty, to lead them to fates they may not deserve and definitely won't get to choose, and some asshole is telling her that Robin's life is forfeit because they say so. Yeah, fucking right. Robin is hers. Robin will do what she wants with her life, and Lucy will fight to her last breath to make sure she has the right to do so. Robin wants to die. Well, Lucy's gonna do her damnedest to convince her otherwise once they get her out of here. But there's no way in heaven or hell Lucy's just going to let some bastards take her will to live because they decided an 8-year-old girl was a menace to society. And that same girl had the audacity to survive in spite of their decree. The enemy here is not Robin, or whatever it is she knows that they think she shouldn't. The enemy is whoever thought this was any approximation of justice. You think you can go against the government? The asshole with purple hair spits. He reeks of cowardice and vice. Why would you, for one woman whose very existence is a sin? Robin is crying, like she really believes this shit and fully expects the Straw Hats to suddenly believe it too. Robin is afraid. Apparently, she's not so much afraid of what might happen to her, but of the Straw Hats eventually deciding that she's more trouble than she's worth, and abandoning her like a puppy on the side of the road. Here's the thing about that. It's bullshit. Lucy is the type to pick up the disease-ridden animals drowning in boxes and bring them home. She likes the so-called outcasts, the people who can't relate to others, except Lucy doesn't call them outcasts. She calls them friends, because society doesn't usually know a good thing when they see it. It's not like she cares if someone fits in or not. Interesting people usually don't. They had to do something interesting to be shunned in the first place, right? Like with Zoro and Usopp and Robin maybe most of all. And there's one other thing Robin doesn't seem to get. She's not an outsider to the Straw Hats. She's Nakama. Her burdens are theirs. Her enemies are theirs to fight as well. This is not a band of people who happen to travel together. This is Nakama. And being Nakama means never having to say goodbye or be alone. But if Robin doesn't know that yet, then there's only one thing to do. Make her enemies theirs in the literal sense too. Sogeking, shoot down that flag. Lucy has a way of winning people over, of being herself in such a way that people can't seem to look away from her. It usually happens in a fairly dramatic way, a single crystallizing moment where the crew realizes they've been irrevocably claimed by a crazy-as-hell captain, and the equally astounding reality that they're happy about it. Those moments, of course, are usually examples of Lucy at her most Lucy. Zoro's even seen her do it with people who aren't Nakama. Like the Marine Lucy had Zoro saved despite it being in their best interests not to. Sure, it only seemed to piss Smoker off, but Zoro saw respect there too. The first one he truly witnessed was Nami's, back in Kokoyashi. Lucy barely even said anything, just stuck a hat on Nami's head, yelled some profanities and went off to kick ass. But there was a shift in Nami's eyes then, a reset, almost. No longer did she look like she was planning escape routes. Instead, she seemed content. Sanji's moment, he missed. Zoro knows it occurred, because Sanji has a look in his eye whenever he talks about Lucy that isn't his usual flirtatious one. It's respect, and maybe a little awe. Utter devotion is there too. Zoro would be jealous and defensive, but he can't really begrudge the cook those things. Vivi had two moments, one when Nami was sick, and she declared that the ship's fastest course must be to find Nami a doctor as soon as possible, and the other in the desert, when Lucy finally had enough, told her to stop being naive, and called her nakama. Also, punching was involved. Vivi was and in all likelihood remains entirely devoted to Alabasta, but Zoro knows part of her heart belongs to Lucy as well. Lucy earned Chopper's devotion on top of a mountain on drum. Chopper called himself a monster. Lucy told him to shut up and come with them. It was as simple as that. Zoro and Usopp were a little different. Their faith and loyalty to Lucy came from the bonds of shared experiences. It built slowly over time. There isn't a defining point Zoro can look back at and say, "Oh yes, that's when it happened, that's when this girl won me over." He just knows he looked around a week after they started sailing together and realized he was never going to find someone like her anywhere else. And before he knew it, Mihawk beat him and Zoro pledged his dream to hers. Usopp was different though. The friendship and sense of belonging were there, but his lack of confidence occasionally prevented him from feeling fully comfortable, and sometimes his insecurities about being a man were exacerbated by the fact that Lucy is female and a stronger fighter. It's those kinds of insecurities that made themselves known when that awful fight happened, and it's part of why Zoro was and remains so mad at him. But there's a strong bond there too, of trust and friendship and care, and they've all missed him despite the insanity that has been the last few days. Zoro hopes Usopp will get his head out of his ass and apologize soon. It's just about the only thing that will restore him in Zoro's eyes, make him trustworthy again. It's not that Lucy is a savior, or any such shit. It's not cultic worship or anything. Lucy's a person, a girl that doesn't even reach Zoro's shoulders. She cries frequently, she's selfish and would probably lead them cheerfully over a cliff if left to her own devices because she's never met an adventure she didn't want to have. But the thing is, she's a girl who does all that, and yet there's some magnetism about her that's undeniable. She cares about the things people hold close to their hearts. She has an uncanny way of seeing what the right thing to do is, often without even really realizing it, and unerringly follows through. She keeps on making impossible things happen according to whatever whim strikes her that day, and in the process she's saved them all at least once. She claims people, binds them to her in a way both infinite and fragile, and the sheer force of her will is breathtaking. Somehow a person can't be claimed the way Lucy claims them without having their perspectives shift a bit. Somehow, Lucy believing in a person and fighting for their hopes and dreams makes that person believe in Lucy and her fate. And suddenly people who never thought to have friends are ready to die for each other at any time. Case in point, himself. Part of why he never fully trusted Robin is, other than a piecemeal story and the occasional curious and vaguely odd glance from the older woman to the younger, there was no evidence such a moment ever occurred. Zoro couldn't shake the feeling that she never quite stopped being their enemy, and because of it could only hope Lucy knew what she was doing. But now here they are, in Eni's lobby, 10,000 soldiers down and 6 assassins to go before they reach their goal, and Robin is right before them, emotionally wrecked and more honest than Zoro has ever seen her. Zoro thinks Lucy's outdone herself this time. Sogeking, shoot down conviction in Lucy's voice, a promise and an answer to an unasked question. Usopp shoots the flag down and a ripple of shock radiates from the towers and down into the crowds below. Now come on, Robin. I want to hear you say it, Lucy shouts, no patience for the flustered enemies. That was not an act for them, it was for Robin. This has all been for Robin. Say you want to live. She screams hoarsely, the expression on her face dark and uncompromising. Robin, bruised and exhausted and emotionally wrought, looks frozen at the words, unable to believe what Lucy just did for her. She should have known better than to deny their captain. Then she takes a deep breath, her voice cracking as she sobs, I want to live, take me to sea with you. And Zoro thinks, oh, there's the moment. Zoro's fighting a fucking giraffe. Honestly, he's not sure how he gets into these situations. He's fairly content to lay about 60% of the blame on Lucy and the rest on the shitty cook. But the giraffe is actually a difficult opponent. He's a swordsman, and he practices the weird martial arts that the rest of the assassins do. And, though Zoro is loath to admit it, he's tired, exhausted, really. It's been a difficult few days, fraught with emotion, heartache, and in the last 6 hours, more than one fight to the death. Zoro tried to rest on the train, but he and Lucy had to keep a watch on their progress when obstacles showed up, since they were the only ones with sufficiently powerful ranged attacks. But it's fine, Zoro is going to win this fight. He's not sure how yet, but he will. Then the giraffe goes and badmouths Robin, and something changes. It's weird, for Zoro. His fights are almost never emotional. It's about skill, effort, and willpower, and nothing else. In fact, he's usually at his most clear-headed in a fight, although some might call it single-mindedness. But this is different. Zoro almost never feels protective of other people. Lucy is the constant exception, which is weird because Lucy almost never needs his protection, and even when she does, it's usually not a physical problem a blade can solve. Even when he's actively protecting his nakama, he doesn't feel the need to exact retribution on their attackers for the attempt, unless the attacker is behaving dishonorably. That's more Lucy's thing than his. Then the giraffe runs his mouth about Robin, and all he can think about, suddenly, is the way she looked with tears streaming down her face and screaming "I want to live" like she's never said it aloud before. Like flipping a switch, his reasons for fighting the giraffe immediately morph from pragmatic to emotional, and suddenly he's filled with wrath. "Be a vessel for my punishment," purrs a voice. Kitetsu hums in agreement, high-pitched and whining for blood. Zoro steps back, and crosses his arms in his favorite ready position. Fury and bloodlust fill him in a way he's never experienced before, his body burning with it, and he calls, Nine Sword Style, Demon Asura. Zoro can feel the darkness of his own aura, and knows he is accomplishing something only those truly ready to live on the edge of their blades can, because this, whatever it is, it hurts. But there's power here, and Zoro needs it desperately, so he embraces the pain, the darkness in his own soul, and becomes destruction incarnate. The giraffe looks scared, but Zoro doesn't care. This man made one of his nakama cry. He steps forward, and it hurts, but Zoro ignores it. He will not let this man take one more breath. He leaps, blades whirling, and pain shoots up his spine. Suffering is welcome on the path to bloodshed. He growls, and it's as much a threat to the giraffe as it is a reminder to himself. Each of his 9 blades connect with their targets, and Zoro smirks in satisfaction with 3 mouths. He lands easily from the jump, and crosses his blades once more in the ready position, before relaxing as he hears the thud of the giraffe's heavy body, and the labored breathing of human lungs. He slides 3 katanas into their scabbards, and hears the groan that signals his opponent's imminent demise. "The guy from the shipyard had something he wanted me to tell you," Zoro mutters. "You're fired." There's a snort of painful laughter, then a slight rustle, and his opponent is offering him the key. Zoro takes it, a little surprised, but it would seem a swordsman is a swordsman even when they're on opposite sides of a battle like this one. Zoro doesn't respect this man, but he thinks, as he departs to go find the others and deliver the key to Robin, that under different circumstances and with a little less idiocy on the giraffe's part, he maybe could have. Once everyone, minus Lucy, makes it onto the escape ship, Zoro lets himself breathe for exactly 12 seconds, and then climbs back up the stairs to take stock. Eni's lobby is burning. Everything except the bridge is on fire, and still Zoro can hear the battleship's fire blast after blast on what was a perfectly functional compound about 3 hours ago. It's hard to believe they would just mindlessly execute this level of destruction against even their own. But then, maybe the Marines just don't care for their own people the way that pirates do. How's that for ironic? While he's confident in her abilities, what Zoro really wants to do right now is go find his captain and make sure she's alright. He wants to hold her, catalog her injuries, make sure she'll be okay soon if she isn't now. He wants to tell her about the demon that helped him win against the giraffe, and about how proud he is of her. He wants to take her hand in his and not let go until he's satisfied she's safe, act on all those impulses to touch her that he's been repressing. But Zoro knows with an unfortunate amount of certainty that what he wants is not what Lucy needs. She's going to beat Lucci. Of course she is. Zoro has never doubted her before and isn't about to start now. And part of him knows, too, that if he goes to her now he will only be in the way. No, Lucy doesn't need him to help her fight. Lucy needs her crew safe, needs them protected while she defeats the person only she could take on and beat. Zoro stands on the bridge of hesitation and thinks. They need to figure out an exit strategy, and they need a way to extract Lucy, because Zoro has a feeling she's not going to be in great shape after this fight. They're safe for now because the Marines still want Robin, still want to take her back. Once they finish totaling their own compound, they'll probably come back for her. They'll have to make their stand here, at the bridge. The Marines obviously know where they are, but that actually protects them for now. And since they won't be leaving without Lucy, they may as well pick one place for her to find. He still wants to go to her, he'll always want to go to her. But Zoro and Lucy understand each other. He knows how strong she is. He's seen it and felt it and heard it in the sounds of earth collapsing and a belfry ringing like a heartbeat for the whole world to hear. He trusts her to win, always, just as she does for him. Anything less would be a sign of disrespect, a betrayal. There is no hesitation in him when he stares down the infernos of Eni's lobby, or watches the battleships lose interest in the island and turn their attention to the bridge. Lucy will win. Zoro just has to wait for her. Lucy knows she's past her limit. Hell, Lucy was nearly past her limit when she started this fight, but now she can barely move. There's almost nothing left in her system, and she's used gear second too many times today. She can feel her heartbeat is thready and fast, like it can't quite figure out how to compensate for the abuse of her own body. And still, Lucci advances. He's breathing hard, he's bloody, and if he lives he's going to have a slew of serious scars to remember her by. He's not quite so far past his edge as Lucy is though, and that thought scares her, makes her more desperate. She has to defeat this man. If she doesn't, he'll kill everyone she loves. That's not something Lucy can accept. Lucci delivers a kick meant for her head. She dodges, and it blows through a wall instead, bringing down what's left of the room. It seems to tire him though, and for a moment they're both glaring at each other from across the room, just panting as they try to catch their breath before the next round. She's tired. She's so tired. And then a voice, clear and familiar, pierces through the dust and smoke. Lucy-san, we're here. And slowly, disbelievingly, Lucy turns to see 4 people standing on the edge of the destroyed bridge. It's Zoro, Usopp, Sanji, and Frankie. We all got to the bridge safely, Frankie shouts. Don't worry about us, Lucy-san. Usopp again. Robin's safe too, Sanji screams. Please kick his ass and come back safe, Sencho, Mysea lady suffer. Defeat him, don't you dare give up. And that's Zoro, reminding her what she promised him after Logatown. He makes victory sound inevitable. Usopp and Sanji have the same idea. We'll all go home together. Something about this is incredible, inconceivable to Lucy. Never once did she think it possible that her Nakama love her as much as she loves them. Oh, she knows, has always known, that they love her, but she didn't think it was in the soul-shearing way she's claimed them for herself. But what other conclusion could she draw now, with those 4 standing on a bridge telling her in no uncertain terms that she is expected to return to them? That without her their mission would not be a success, and all she has to do in order to see another day with them is defeat one man. Lucy doesn't quite have the energy to expend on a full-faced smile, so she offers them a smaller, more emotional one instead, and nods. She can see Zoro's smirk from here and knows at least one of them got her message. With Eni's lobby out of sight, and the Mary sailing miraculously through the sea once more, it's suddenly all Zoro can do to stay standing. But instead of collapsing at the bow, like he wants to, he wobbles over to the center of the main deck, where everyone is gathering around the prone, still body of their captain. She's alive, and she's awake, but she still can't move. Chopper is hovering over her, frantically evaluating everything about her condition and muttering dire-sounding statements as he goes. Zoro tries not to listen too closely, and instead takes her in. She's covered in her own blood, and probably some of Lucci's as well. Her clothes are torn and ripped to shreds, the black cargo pants torn off at the knee on one leg and her jacket nowhere to be found. The straw hat hangs on its cord, half crushed behind her, and Zoro takes in the weakly moving fingers of her open hands, twitching like she's trying to form a fist and can't quite do it. Zoro doesn't even want to know what would have happened to the rest of them against Lucci. He's pretty sure they'd be at least one member down right now. As they gather around, Lucy can't seem to stop taking them in, her eyes locking on each of them in turn and then again. Her smile is broad and wide, despite the way she shakes from fatigue, like even lying on the deck is too much exertion for her. Zoro, like most of them, is exhausted. He has injuries Chopper will want to treat. But they're safe, for now. They won. Zoro sits next to Lucy's head, hogging the most space and her attention too. It's not an elegant motion, but it works all the same. He's a little surprised when he hears no protests from the others, mostly Sanji, because while Lucy looks at them almost hungrily, like she has to keep checking that they're alright, the rest of the crew is doing the same to her. Immediately, big brown eyes lock on his face and her smile becomes impossibly brighter. "I won," she tells him. There's pride in her eyes, and maybe a hint of vicious satisfaction. Zoro's proud of her too. I know, everyone did. And that was true, too. Not a single one of their enemies held any victories over them. And as such they probably all died in the Buster Call or soup bed to their injuries. This is not the first time they've killed, but it is the first time they've so totally annihilated the people who went against them. "Do we have any blankets on board?" Chopper asks, his voice a little higher than usual with tension. No, they probably don't. They mostly stripped everything when they left the Mary 2 nights ago. Everyone seems to realize this, and they collectively throw a quick glance to Usopp, who apologetically shakes his head. Chopper frowns. She's going into shock. Someone needs to share body heat with her to try and warm her up. Zoro and Sanji accidentally make eye contact over their captain's prone form. Sanji's eyes flash with opportunistic glee. "I'll do it," Zoro volunteers. Chopper nods distractedly. She's got no major spinal or cervical injuries, and from what I can tell, moving her shouldn't be bad. I'm worried about her arrhythmia and internal bleeding based on these contusions. Chopper points to a set of dark purple bruises spread across her belly like claw marks. But there's nothing I can do about that right now, so it's safe to move her, just try not to bump her too much. Zoro nods, and starts sliding his hands under Lucy's knees and shoulders. Zoro knows he's tired because Lucy, despite all her muscle, doesn't weigh much, and yet Zoro's not sure he has the strength to carry her much farther than the mast. Incidentally, that's where he ends up going. That way he can sit up and hold her a little more carefully, and their nakama can still gather around and hover the way they want to. So Zoro settles, his back against the mast. Lucy is cradled in his lap, her head on his left shoulder and his left knee bent to support her better. Frankie nods to them and goes to the helm to keep watch as the others circle around them, a little gathering of protective frustration. "Oi, be careful, Mosshead, you're squeezing her arm like that." Zoro looks down to where Lucy is holding her arms comfortably in her lap. "Fuck off, shitty cook." The smile on Lucy's face turns fond, and her eyes flutter shut. Zoro kind of hopes she goes to sleep soon, because seeing her this exhausted is painful. "Don't give me that when you may be crushing my precious Lucy-san with your brutish arms and inconsideration." Zoro glares, but he refuses to make any kind of movement that would dislodge Lucy. "That's the kind of shit you'd pull, pirate, eh?" Sanji flushes and pulls out a cigarette, grumbling. Zoro figures they'll all have bounties after this, so he'd better make fun of Sanji while he can. Well, he'll still make fun of Sanji, but they're probably going to have an epithet for him soon. Zoro hopes it's dumb. "You guys are funny," Lucy mumbles. Zoro frowns because that's the same thing she says when one of them is trying to pull something or hide emotions with bluster and gags, and that would imply he likes the cook, which lies. "Go to sleep, Lucy," Nami says from above them. She's looking at the back of Lucy's head with a fond smile on her face. "Why, sure," she slurs. Her head is already sliding into his shoulder, her forehead pressing into the crook of his neck. "Go to sleep," Zoro says lowly. One of Lucy's hands reach out to grab the zippered edge of his jacket. Zoro's a little surprised she mustered the energy to do that, but he knows it's a question, too, a worry that she's going to wake up and the rest of them will be gone. Zoro takes her other hand in his and folds her fingers between his, a reassurance. She's asleep and breathing deeply in under a minute, and the six of them all collectively relax in relief when she starts snoring. "It's good she killed that guy," Sanji says darkly. "I'd be torturing him for hurting her this bad." Nami retorts for Zoro. "You couldn't beat him if he was alive. Look at the state she's in." Zoro pulls her a little tighter against his chest. She's starting to drool, but he doesn't really mind. She's at least not shaking anymore. "I am. I hate seeing her take on all those enemies by herself. My chivalry demands I not let her fight while I breathe," Sanji insists, and he's just a little too serious to be joking. He looks at Zoro like he's expecting some kind of support. "Tell me why we let her fight again." Zoro glances down at Lucy, sees his charge covered in blood and wounds that look like bullet holes and claws, and on some level he can see what the cook is talking about. He loves watching her fight, loves seeing her come out victorious time and again, but he hates seeing her beat up. It isn't like he'd ever stop her though. Lucy loves fighting. It's one of the things they have in common. Nami is having none of the shit today, apparently, because she could kick both your asses from here to East Blue. Zoro isn't about to disagree. Sanji apparently isn't either, since he just kind of slumps, stymied. Oben is laughing. Everyone's heads whip around, because that's not a usual sound coming from her, not this high, giddy sort, rather than a quiet, restrained chuckle. I'm sorry, everyone, it's just, Robin's eyes are mirthful and disbelieving. I can't believe any of this happened. Part of Zoro really understands where she's coming from. The ridiculousness of their quest was apparent from the start. Storming a government facility like this just isn't done, and the fact that they were successful, that they even managed to regain their ship, their magic ship which talks to them, is more than a little outrageous. But most of Zoro has known something like this was inevitable, was going to happen from the start. He remembers seeing her for the first time and thinking sensible people would run far away from this type of crazy. Lucy has no sense of restraint or self-preservation. Then Nami chuckles before joining Robin in full-blown laughter. Oh, did you see their faces when she ordered Usopp to shoot the flag? Then Sanji snorts a little, grinning around a cigarette. Hey, I thought the purple guy was gonna wet himself. I can't believe Sogeking convinced the giants to help us, Chopper adds, giggling. And from there it really devolves, until the adrenaline crash aligns itself with their successful high, and then they're all laughing, full-bodied and helpless on the floor. Zoro tries to be careful of Lucy, but even he's snickering. I can't believe we did that, Nami says eventually, disbelieving. I really can't believe we did that. I never would have done something like that before. They all hear the end of that sentence, even though it's never spoken. Lucy-san has a way of rearranging reality to suit her needs, Sanji says eventually. I'm grateful, Robin says. To all of you. Like we were just going to let you go like that. Nami snorts. Who else would help me teach Lucy how to be a girl? No, you're stuck with us, I'm afraid. Robin smiles, and it's the softest expression Zoro has ever seen on her face. The girl in his arms, their beautiful, strong, selfish, bullheaded captain, snuffles his shoulder a bit. Zoro just squeezes her gently, and hopes his gratitude reaches her. Zoro is an orphan. He's never had a family before, never had even one person he couldn't leave behind. Now he has people, his nakama, who gather around him and their exhausted captain and create a warm place between them. He never expected this, not once. He never hoped for it. He didn't even know he wanted it. And then a girl in a straw hat walked up to him and demanded he join her non-existent crew. And sure, his relationship with Lucy is different than his relationship with the others, or at least more complicated, but he has them, and it's because she forced him to say yes to that question. It's possible he's just being a sap because he's worried and worn out and coming off an adrenaline high, but he's so grateful to his captain who refuses to let anyone go. Maybe it's because of the exhaustion, because of the worry and relief and stress and euphoria, and the swell of emotion that has everything to do with the girl in his arms. Or maybe it's because he's just too spent to push down the longing today. Either way, Zoro gently, near worshipfully, leans down to press his lips to her temple. The first kiss he's ever given her, and thinks thank you. I'm so glad you're safe. I never doubted you for a moment. If the others notice, they don't say a thing, and they sail on until the ruins of Eni's lobby are far behind them. Zoro sits on a pile of junk by the seaside of Water 7, and watches the sun set on the Grand Line. They arrived back here 2 days ago, in significantly more depressed spirits after the Mary's funeral than they'd been in after escaping Eni's lobby. Lucy, who woke up right before they were met by Iceberg's fleet and just in time to see the ship crack, passed out not long after they were hauled up into the larger ships, her tears still drying on her cheeks. The rest of them followed not long after, although Zoro stayed awake until they made it back to Water 7 and Iceberg showed them to a trailer in his company headquarters. Determining them safe enough for now, and with everyone treated and asleep, Zoro finally passed out himself. He woke up only this morning. Nami and Robin both got up before him, and Usopp left the trailer at some point, but the rest of the crew was still asleep, and utterly safe in the compound. Zoro, feeling restless, got up, grabbed his swords, and took a walk. He found some vendors that recognized him and apologetically foisted some food on him, apparently feeling pretty guilty for chasing the crew all over town the other day. He eventually stumbled his way down to the junkyard, and took a seat. He then meditated for an hour or so, and when he opened his eyes the sun was large and the sky red. He's sorry to see the Mary go. Zoro agreed with Lucy's initial verdict on the ship, thought it would be kinder to let the Mary sleep peacefully than drive her to the ocean's bottom. Still, the funeral for the magic ship that saved them all one last time tore at him. It tore at all of them, and they understood completely the pain each other felt at the Mary's departure and final farewell. But Zoro is grieving someone else too. Carefully, and with the respect owed to any blade, Zoro removes the remains of Yubashiri from its hilt. The draw is light, with over 3/4 of his blade missing. Steel scrapes softly against the scabbard and then the jagged, unnatural break catches as it's fully removed. Zoro inspects it, holds the sharp edge of the blade away from him as he takes in the damage. It's not pretty. That marine's devil fruit ability was apparently to rust through everything, and though the damage he inflicted on Zoro disappeared as soon as he broke contact, it was too late for his sword. It stings that a grunt like that marine crippled him so badly, took one of his weapons away for good. Zoro supposes he should just be grateful the marine didn't get Wado Ichimonji. Zoro would never forgive himself if he destroyed Kuina's sword before it became the implement of the world's greatest swordsman. It needs to be in perfect condition when his goal is complete and he offers it back to Sensei. There's no hope to fix the blade. Zoro's not a craftsman, but he knows that. He can't even use Yubashiri as a tanto because the length is wrong and the steel fragile from the marine's attack, not to mention he has no training or skill with a blade that short. Zoro can't hear Yubashiri's voice anymore, the way he can Kitetsu's and increasingly, Wado's. Though quiet, there was always a soft tone from the blade, a low, humble thrum that balanced Kitetsu's bloodlust with Wado's icy clarity, made it easier to wield the 3 fine blades at once. Even as he handles the remains of the blade, he feels nothing, and as he gazes at the black lacquer hilt, the gold inlays, he can't help but grieve for the loss of a devoted partner. He wonders if that old man at Logatown, who gave him Yubashiri for free, would regret giving him the sword if he knew how it met its end. It was the man's family sword, after all, and the finest thing he had to offer Zoro at the time. If Zoro could, he would tell the old man of every time Yubashiri saved his life, saved his Nakama's lives, saved countries. He would tell him how he learned to cut through steel with this sword, to hear the breath of things with Yubashiri thrumming in his right hand, and Kitetsu howling in his left. He'd say thank you for the blade, express his regrets at its fate. It was a good sword. The best he's ever lost. He holds it up to the sun and squints at the metal, observing its cracks as they flash in the sunlight. Zoro! A familiar voice calls. Zoro turns, his arm falling slowly as he recognizes his captain walking toward him. A smile on her face but significantly slower than usual. She's wearing blue shorts and a red and white tank top with the Galila logo on it. Midriff covered for once, but she's still wearing her sandals and she looks relaxed rather than ready to go to war. Lucy, he greets. You're awake. Lucy shrugs. I woke up a little while ago, still pretty tired, but everyone was wondering where you went, and I wanted to take a walk, so I decided to go look for you. Zoro raises an eyebrow. You didn't tell anyone you were leaving, did you? Lucy can't lie to save her life, so to save herself from his wrath she pouts at him and blinks innocently. No? Then, because she's Lucy, she immediately moves on from the topic without consequence. What are you doing out here? And when did you get a knife? Ouch. Thinking, he tells her, and ignores the second question. Lucy, clearly not satisfied with that answer, sits on a pile of junk beside him, cheerfully wrapping her arms around her knees. What about? Zoro tenses a little, because part of the reason he came out here was so he could be alone, have a little time by himself to grieve his loss. No one else on the crew is a swordsman, they couldn't possibly get it. And, honestly, Zoro could do with a little alone time. But Lucy is the person Zoro wants to be with even when he wants to be alone. Besides, he's not going to let her walk back alone when she still looks like she could keel over any time. Zoro doesn't usually let people touch his swords. Sometimes it's a necessity, like when Chopper brought him Kitetsu, but generally, he prefers the others don't touch his blades. Especially Watto. Even now he doesn't really want to hand over Yubashiri, not even to Lucy. But then, this is Lucy, and he trusts Lucy like he trusts no one else. He offers her the hilt. Lucy recognizes it immediately and gasps. Tentatively, and with a quick, questioning glance at Zoro, she takes Yubashiri's remains and traces the hilt with her fingers carefully, almost reverently, with a sorrowful look on her face. "How?" she asks, inspecting the rusted edge of the blade. Rust fruit. Can it be fixed?" "No," Lucy looks pained. "Oh Zoro, I'm sorry." She's acting like he's grieving for a friend that died. It's weird how her sympathy actually makes him feel better. From anyone else it would have felt condescending or pitying. Then Lucy holds the broken blade across both her palms, and performs an awkward little bow to the sword. "Thank you for protecting Zoro all this time, Yubashiri." And weirdly, that's what makes his heart feel lighter, makes the loss feel a bit smoother. Should we have a funeral? Like we did for the Mary? Most swordsmen don't do anything special for their broken blades. But then, most blades aren't as fine as Zoro's. Zoro isn't particularly sentimental, but he considers for a moment the idea of walking around with only 2 swords at his waist and dumping the scabbard and hilt at a metal shop somewhere, and it just doesn't feel right. "Not yet," he tells her. "I've looked through the sword shops here. It's not their craft." Which is a bit of an understatement. For such a trading hub, Water 7 really didn't offer much for crafts not related to ships, shipping, and shipbuilding. Except food. Apparently, Sanji was raving the other day about how interesting the cuisine is here. Lucy nods and doesn't question his decision. Then gently, respectfully, she offers Zoro the hilt, and he slides the remains of his sword home in its lacquered scabbard. The weight feels a bit off, but that's probably just his imagination. Lucy peers at him and cocks her head to the side. "Do you want me to leave? I'm sorry for intruding earlier, I should have asked. It was anyone else he would have told them to get lost, but it's Lucy." And he actually is feeling a little better about his loss now. Lucy nods, gives him a small smile, and sways like she does when she's lost too much blood and hasn't replenished her energy. "I'm done here, actually," he tells her. He's surprised to find it's the truth. "Let's go back." Lucy inspects him for a second, like she thinks he's lying to her. Then she grins. "You couldn't find your way back on your own, could you?" Zoro scowls at her. "I haven't tried yet," which isn't explicitly true. He was going to meditate on one of the Galila docking towers when he ended up at the beach. But whatever. "And I don't want to hear it from you. Of all people." Lucy's sense of direction, according to Nami, is only a few grades improved from his own. They usually end up where they need to be when they need to be there, though. Lucy winks at him, smiled tired. "Yeah, but I don't get lost walking in a straight line." Zoro scowls at her, and can't comment because that actually happened more than once while they were on the run the other day here in Water 7. They stand, brush themselves off, and then Lucy's expression turns serious. "We'll find you a new sword somewhere. And then I'll help you have a funeral for Yubashiri if you want." Zoro takes in her expression, the earnest tightening of her eyes and sympathetic line of her mouth, and knows she means every word. It doesn't mean everything's fine now. They still don't have a ship and Usopp still hangs over all of them. And Zoro really is in a bind without 3 swords, but it does ease the loss a little. So he nods to her, and knows his expression is softer than anyone else would ever think him capable of. Okay. 3 days after their return to Water 7, everyone is awake and on the mend except Lucy, who collapsed after returning to the guest house with Zoro and hasn't woken since. That kind of pisses him off a little. Why wasn't anyone watching her to make sure she didn't pull shit like this? This is Lucy they're talking about. And also afflicts him with no small sense of guilt since he didn't realize anything was amiss until the halfway back to the guest house. At that point she had to be carried, white-faced and trembling, as he ran to get her to Chopper. Chopper says she's fine, but probably won't wake up for another day or so, because she shouldn't have been walking around and whatever technique she used to kill Lucci depletes her of energy in a way he's never seen before. They all wince a little at that. Anyway, none of them feel much inclined to leave her alone today, which is how they all end up spending the afternoon relaxing in the guest house as Frankie offers to build them a ship. Then the wall explodes. It would be endearing how all of them throw themselves between Lucy and the intrusion if they weren't desperately trying to figure out what was going on. Zoro can't see his features, but there's a hulking man standing in the center of the hole in the wall. "Who the hell are you?" Nami demands. The dust clears and Zoro's stomach drops as he makes out a marine uniform, and what looks to be about an entire ship full of crew members. Zoro is about to order Usopp and Chopper to take Lucy and run while the rest of them try to hold them off here. But then the massive marine steps up into the little house and Zoro hesitates. Something about him looks familiar. So, the marine has a low, booming voice even though his tone sounds vaguely conversational. "You're the bunch of misfits my granddaughter calls nakama." Zoro's mind possibly breaks a little, because there's only one person he could be referring to and she's currently unconscious in the bed behind him. Zoro would turn to give a disbelieving glance at his captain, but he's too well trained to take his eye off the enemy, and instead he just goes a little slack-jawed. And maybe it's because they're so shocked that the marine manages to get a question put to them. Now, something red tinges the air around him, and then a massive, meaty hand bigger than Zoro's head snaps out and grabs him and Sanji by the throat, lifts them off their feet so they choke. "Which one of you has been defiling my granddaughter?" "What? Wait, what in the actual?" If Zoro wasn't blacking out from lack of oxygen he would be freaking the fuck out. He draws Kitetsu, lets it flash in the sunlight as a courtesy warning before he mutilates Lucy's grandfather, and then draws a cut that could slice through iron across the man's wrist with the wicked blade. It bounces off. "What in the actual? No one has defiled her to my knowledge, Marine-san," Robin offers calmly, like she isn't the most probable reason for a marine visit but miraculously seems to not be this one's priority. His grip slackens a little at her words. Although I think it's safe to say Zoro, our swordsman, has probably come the closest. Well, so much for trusting Robin. The marine drops Sanji immediately, who grabs his throat and coughs on all fours. "You've been doing what to my granddaughter?" Zoro's not even sure what he'd say to the marine if he could speak at the moment. He settles for just glaring and trying to hack his head off this time. No dice, but the attempt seems to enrage the larger, so much larger, man, and he swings his massive hand and sends Zoro into the wall on the far side of the room so hard he feels his back snap support beams. It's probably only due to Galilaw's excellent engineering that he doesn't bring the back half of the building down. "I'll kill you if you touched her before a wedding." Zoro doesn't squeak but he's told later that the sound was very close. Wedding? "I'll send you his head in a box if he does so inappropriately, Lucy's grandpa-san." Zoro stumbles out of the Zoro-shaped hole in the wall, and throws the nearest dining implement at the cook's head. It's a salt shaker. Sanji catches it. Not helping, Sanji, Nami shrieks. Then she turns to the marine, pasting on a sweet smile. "Lucy has no romantic relationships that I know of, Marine-san." But I think we would all be a bit relieved if they would just admit their feelings on the matter," Robin adds, completely unhelpfully. The marine turns to Sanji. "You. I like you. Do that." Then he turns to Zoro, who by now has made his way back to the group. "You." Zoro glares, standing between the old man and Lucy. Like hell he'd just let the crazy bastard anywhere near her. Lucis never even mentioned him before. The marine cocks his gray head, grizzled face twitching in slight amusement. "You just don't know when to quit, do you?" Zoro says nothing, just glares with his hand poised on his blades. The marine looks almost amused for a second, and says, "You might even be more stubborn than my granddaughter." Zoro disagrees. "No one is more stubborn than Lucy." "Just how familiar with my granddaughter are you?" Zoro's eyes widen just in time to see the marine's fist plow straight into his chest, and send him once more into the wall. This time he cracks concrete. Zoro looks up to glare at the marine blearily, but the man's attention has shifted. "Don't be so rude, granddaughter, time to get up." Zoro hears Chopper yell, "Please Lucy's grandpa, she needs to sleep," and manages to blink away the probable concussion enough to see the marine grab the side of the bed and overturn it in one swift movement. The bed flying up and implanting itself in the ceiling and the mattress flopping down at Nami's feet. Lucy rolls on the floor and ridiculously sleeps on. The marine raises his fist, kisses it, and roars, "You, fist of love." "Oi, what do you think you're doing?" Sanji yells. Zoro's eyes widen as he processes what's about to happen, and he leaps forward, his two working swords crossed in a defensive position. He and Sanji land their attacks at the exact same time, trying to catch the descending fist across the knuckles. Zoro crouched over Lucy's blissfully unaware form and bracing for all he's worth. The Marine's massive fist is slowed, barely, but they're line and both of them go flying this time. Zoro just barely sees the man manage to connect a hit to Lucy's forehead before slamming headfirst into the wall, for the third time in the last 60 seconds. Shit. Ow, 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 ow. Lucy's high-pitched whine echoes through the room. It hurts, it hurts. Sanji gets up quicker than Zoro, since he has only flown into one wall today, and flutters around Lucy like a very concerned butterfly. It hurts? Lucy-san, you're made of rubber, how could it hurt? But Lucy completely ignores him when she takes in the massive, bearded man grinning down at her. Gramps? Zoro stumbles out of the wall, again, and strides over as evenly as he can to stand behind Lucy, glaring at the Marine. Hello, Lucy. Zoro notices that they have matching scars around their left eyes, and wonders if it happened at the same time. I hear you've been doing reckless things. Lucy frowns, clearly irritated. The Marines are the one who blew up your base, not me. Nami groans in the corner. Don't confirm when they haven't accused yet, Lucy. Lucy rubs her forehead. But it's true. The Marine, thankfully, says nothing. Zoro does notice that a few of the men waiting outside seem a little agitated by the accusation, though. Oi! How dare you hit a lady, and your own granddaughter, too? Sanji screeches. The Marine looks unimpressed. Oh please, that was just a love tap. Not to my injured patient, you dolt. The Marine cocks his head to the side, peering at Chopper. A tanuki? I'm a reindeer. Anyway, Lucy, don't you owe me an apology? The Marine says beseechingly. Lucy looks utterly lost. For what? And, completely out of the blue, the Marine slams another fist across her forehead. Zoro doesn't even have a chance to try and deflect it this time, and Lucy whines in pain. You don't call, you don't write, your nakama don't even know who I am. Don't you think I deserve at least that? Your grandfather for whom you caused so much trouble? Stop that, it hurts, damn it, how dare you hit Lucy-san? Are you, by any chance, Monkey D. Garp? Robin asks politely, the she-devil. The whole room freezes. That Garp? The famous Marine that cornered Gold D. Rogers so many times? Nami stutters. Even Zoro is impressed. Tales of Garp were heard all over the world. They said it was like he had a homing beacon on the late Pirate King. Yeah, don't fight him. Lucy confirms. The way she says it almost sounds like a rule she has to remind herself of frequently. What in the fuck? Gramps has nearly killed me several times in the past. What in the fuck? It's weird being so in sync with Sanji on something because just as Zoro is reaching for his swords again, Sanji shifts into an offensive pose. I never tried to kill you. You threw me over bottomless cliffs. Endurance training, you left me in the jungle. Survival training, you tied me to a balloon. Problem solving and mental cognition. I was 5 for all of those things. So much, Nami whimpers. This explains so much. I was training you up to be a good Marine, one that dresses with appropriate modesty. I wanted to be a pirate, and I'll dress however I goddamn feel like. Zoro isn't even sure where to start with any of this. Don't you curse at me, young lady, fuck that. I'm going to teach you manners if it kills you. The fist comes down on Lucy's forehead, again, and Zoro, maybe stupidly, tries to pull her behind him this time only to have her shove him off to aggressively face down her grandfather. Pirates don't need manners. Garp's expression changes from unruffled to annoyed. This pirate obsession of yours is all Red Hair's fault, the bastard. Didn't you just tell her not to swear? Frankie asks. Shanks saved my life, don't you dare speak ill of him. Zoro has never seen Lucy quite this emotional, not in this particular way. He's never seen her fight like this with someone either, not for her own sake. She looks upset, maybe genuinely, but also pleased and furious, it seems, personal, in a way it usually isn't. Don't you tell your grandpa what to do. The punch this time clearly packs a little more wallop because Lucy flies back, straight into Zoro, who falls painfully onto the floor with Lucy on top of him. Geez, I'm sorry, stop doing that. Do you even know what type of person Red Hair is? Garp asks, and it sounds like a conversation they've had a few times. Then his eyes narrow at Zoro. "You paws off my granddaughter." Zoro glowers. "You're the one that hit her." Lucy ignores them both and her eyes light up through the reflexive tears of pain as she scrambles off of Zoro. "Do you know where he is? Are he and the others alright?" Garp sighs, like even he isn't capable of out-stubborning Lucy. "As far as I know, he's a Yonko." Lucy relaxes and looks at her hat fondly. "That's good. I'm glad they're safe." Like most of them, Lucy doesn't talk about her past much. She's only mentioned Shanks a handful of times, and most of those have been glib answers about the hat that really don't explain much. Zoro did know beforehand that he saved her life, and that he was the first person who told Lucy about the One Piece, although she insists that she wanted to be a pirate before she met him. He did not know he's a Yonko. Garp looks around, like he's only just now noticing the damage to the building. "Huh, I did that?" Garp's aides look long-suffering when they chorus, "Yes, Vice Admiral." "What in the fuck?" Lucy offers her goodbyes to Kobe and Helmeppo before she has to, and sends them off to find Zoro. It's not that she doesn't want to see them. Well, she wants to see Kobe at least. She has no idea what's up with the other one. But she has someone else she needs to speak to at the moment. She finds Gramps where she expects to find him. That is, in the most obnoxious place possible. Sipping tea in the unfinished hole in her wall while looking over some papers. "You didn't have to hit Zoro so many times," she greets, eyeing the vaguely Zoro-shaped imprints on the wall across from them. Gramps doesn't even seem surprised she showed up. "I only aimed for him the once. Wait, twice." Lucy sighs. "Don't kill my swordsman." Gramps looks at her over his teacup. "Oh, is that all he is?" Lucy is not following. "He's also my first mate, and my nakama." Gramps huffs a laugh. "If you get married and don't invite me, I'm going to kill both of you." "No one's getting married." "Uh-huh." Lucy doesn't argue further, because it's usually pointless with Gramps, and frequently ends up with him hitting her when she doesn't capitulate to his side. "It's been a while," she prompts, changing the subject. Gramps hums an affirmative. 5 years, I think. Ace was still in Fuchsia." 5 years is right. 3 of those were spent without any proper company, and her grandfather didn't drop by once. "I saw him, you know. He looked happy. HMPH. Should have been a Marine. He'd had a future then." Lucy sighs. "A pirate is freer than a Marine." Gramps huffs, unsatisfied. "Why didn't you tell me about Dragon?" Gramps shrugs. "You never asked." Which is a complete cop-out since he hasn't been around since she was 12 and at that point was decidedly not lonely or curious about people she could maybe love, because she had Ace full-time then and he was the best big brother ever. What's he like? "He's an idiot." There's a note in Gramps' voice that seems frustrated, like an old echo of a stronger emotion. If her dad is such an important guy who's trying to overthrow the government, he and Gramps probably didn't get along well. Lucy wonders if that's why Gramps left them with Dayton. If he just didn't think he was capable of raising them in the end. "I thought he was dead." "He's not. And my mother," Gramps finally adopts an expression that isn't grating superiority. "I'm not sure." Lucy believes him and sits, accepting a cup of tea when Gramps throws one of his massive arms around her back. She'd prefer juice, but Gramps likes to do things fancy and proper. He even likes the whole etiquette thing the Marines do. Which is weird as all heck. Just one more reason Lucy was never meant for that life. "It's good to see you, Gramps," she says, smiling up at him. Her grandfather looks down warmly, at least for him, and noogies her affectionately. "Brad. It's good to see you too." His smile becomes more mischievous. "You got a good crew." "The best crew," she corrects. Gramps' smile grows nostalgic, and maybe a little frustrated. He sighs, "You really are like him," but then doesn't explain further. Lucy tilts her head. "Like who?" "Maybe Dragon." "Oh, no one important." Then he shuffles his papers and stands. "Just remember, I'm giving you a pass now, but next time we meet on the sea, we'll be enemies." Lucy nods and says innocently, "I always run away from you when I have the option, Gramps." "Why you little?" Lucy finds herself sitting on top of the Galila docking platform towers, recently rebuilt by the giants Usopp befriended a few hours after Gramps leaves. From here she can see the shipyard where Frankie and Iso-san are building her new vessel, but they're obviously wary of having anyone spy on their efforts. The entire project is covered, though she can see people buzzing around it. Lucy bets it will be a great ship. It can't be anything else if it's Frankie building it. She's definitely going to ask him to come with them. She wasn't sure about it until she spoke to Robin about what happened in the tower. How Frankie was responsible for getting Robin out to them. Lucy owed him for that. But she's going to call him Nakama because then she heard him talk about the ship with such passion and care, and that feeling hit. It's late, and her head still kind of hurts from grabs. Lucy will never understand how his punches hurt so bad. Honestly, she still feels kind of shaky and weak. Using gear 2nd and gear 3rd like that is taxing, apparently. A bit more so than she expected. She felt fully rested when she woke up in Alabasta, 3 days after defeating Crocodile. She feels like she could sleep for another 3 days now. She probably won't though, given all Gramps left her to think about. Her father's alive. His name is Dragon. He's the head of the Revolutionary Army, a movement dedicated to the dismantling of the world government, which is the same organization that tried to take Robin. Lucy wonders if he knows about her. If he does, she wonders if he approves. She's not sure how she feels about that, either way. She's not sure Dragon's entitled to an opinion at all. Lucy always assumed her parents were dead or something. She never asked Gramps, figuring it would probably be pretty painful to talk about. She didn't even know for sure that Gramps was her dad's dad. She figured she might have her mom's name, if they weren't married. Like Ace, although his wasn't a case of not being married but of trying to protect him from assholes who hated Roger. Lucy always kind of liked the idea that they might both carry their mother's names. Not the case, apparently. A steady, familiar gait approaches from behind her. She smiles a little, and greets him without looking because if he didn't want her to notice him she wouldn't have. Zoro. Her swordsman grunts and sits down next to her, posture perfect in his lotus position. Lucy figures his sensei must have been a great teacher. Thought you might be up here. Lucy nods and hums. I'm thinking. Don't hurt yourself. Lucy snorts, and then sobers a little. I didn't know I had a dad. Zoro doesn't seem surprised at the topic. Pretty famous one, too. I never even heard of him before today. Lucy isn't looking at him, but she can feel Zoro appraising her mood. I don't know much, but they say he's powerful. The government hates him, which probably means he's good at his job. Lucy wraps her arms around her knees and fingers the fabric of her shorts. I never asked Gramps what happened to him, or my mom. I just assumed they were dead. Zoro doesn't say anything in response. I'm not mad at him. Zoro gives her a look that's half fond, half exasperated, figured. Lucy rewards him with a small smile. Lucy would never begrudge someone following their dream. Zoro, obviously, understands. He usually does. I thought I was an orphan, she tells him, and she sees him raise an eyebrow, clearly thinking of her exuberant grandfather. Gramps wasn't around much, especially after I turned 5. Today was the first time I saw him in a while. I was raised in the dojo, he tells her quietly, and Lucy's attention zeroes in on him because Zoro never speaks about his past. Not once in all this time. It was fine. Nice. Didn't know any different. I don't know who my parents were. Roranoa is the last name they give to orphans in my kingdom. Which meant he'd never be able to track them down, if he didn't know their names. Lucy wonders if he ever wanted to do so. She doubts he wants to now. She waits for him to speak more, and then accepts that he doesn't want to share. Ace and I had a nice home too. We were raised by bandits. Zoro snorts. That makes too much sense. Lucy makes a face at him, feeling lighter than she has all day. So mean. Zoro rolls his eyes. Your eating habits speak for themselves. Lucy giggles a bit, and she notices Sanji's blonde head bobbing up the street to the markets. He's probably going to get food for dinner tonight. Hey, Zoro? Should I meet my dragon? Zoro frowns. Do you want to? Lucy SHR. Make a decision when you're sure, one way or the other. He shrugs. Besides, it seems like he can find you pretty easily if he met us in Logatown. That's true. It also means he could probably find her anytime he wanted, and chose not to. But she doesn't begrudge him his dream. If he wants to take down the government, Lucy doesn't really have an issue with it. Well, I guess that's one mystery solved. Zoro glances at her, a bit confused, before comprehension slides across his face. What the lightning? Lovecook thought it was God, Zoro snickers. Lucy shrugs. Enaru probably would have agreed. That guy was an idiot. True. Beating him was satisfying. What do you think they do during lightning storms in Skypia? It can't be particularly safe up there then. Not everyone is made of rubber. Zoro leans back, laying out flat against the rooftop with his hands laced behind his head. Beats me? Ask Nami. Lucy grins and listens closely as Zoro's breathing stretches out, going slower and deeper until he's safely asleep. Then she stretches out next to him on her side and observes. Zoro has a nice face. She never gets to look at it as long as she'd like, and when he's awake he's usually either frowning or smirking, or Lucy gets him to laugh outright. He doesn't usually look so peaceful as he does when he's asleep. Lucy likes seeing it. She knew Zoro didn't have an easy past. She knew from the moment they first made eye contact, and if she hadn't seen it then, she would have known the moment he picked up his swords, and seen the ferocity there. She never imagined they'd have such similar stories though. There's a beat where she just watches him carefully, traces the line of his jaw with her eyes, watches the wind play with his hair, and then suddenly it's like her heart might burst with affection, fondness, appreciation, want. Her heart's so full she feels like she might cry. She's so grateful to Zoro, for Zoro. She's so happy she has him. A guy who gets lost going in straight lines but who always finds her when she needs him, who never fails to make her feel better, especially when he's not trying. Who just gave her parts of himself she knows he's never shared before because Lucy felt confused and upset, so he gave her his own history so she could ground herself in it. A guy who's strong, so strong, and a dreamer as foolish as she is. She wants to kiss him. Right now. She wants to trace his jaw with her lips, see if he tastes as good as he smells. She wants to take his earrings between her teeth and suck on the earlobe and find out if Zoro likes it as much as she sometimes imagines he does. She wants him to look at her with that intense, burning gaze he gets in a fight, but this time fueled by something else entirely. She wants to hold his head in her lap, run her fingers through his hair while he sleeps. She wants to kiss him until their lips are swollen and they're both breathing too hard. She wants to do more than kiss. Lucy puts her fist in her mouth and bites her knuckle instead. She's not stupid. Well, she can be, but she's usually right about people. She knows this is more than a crush, that with them it was always going to be more than a crush. They're all or nothing types. And when Lucy thinks about their history, the way they interact together, the way he looks at her, sometimes she thinks he might like her too. But she's not ready to acknowledge that, to deal with the changes that might arise from it. She's not ready to handle her emotions properly, and certainly not ready to present them to Zoro. It's not like her to wait on things, especially not things she wants. But the thing is, Zoro is cautious when it comes to emotions. Zoro does wait. He's as bull-headed as she is when it comes to their dreams and takes any opportunity to fight. But Zoro rarely warms up to people immediately unless there's alcohol involved. After watching him with the others, she knows the speed at which their own relationship solidified was an anomaly for him. She can only assume that the same principle probably applies here as well. Lucy desperately wants him. Lucy desperately needs to not screw up. So she'll wait. She'll wait to figure out her own feelings, and she'll wait for Zoro so he's sure of his. Then, when she's sure she won't scare him away completely, she'll tell him what she feels. It's a good plan. It's too bad the ache in her heart isn't terribly satisfied with that. Really? Usopp wants to come back? Lucy's voice carries a note of hope that tears at Zoro a little. This is the same girl who, not even a week ago, declared war on the world government to get back one of her friends. The thought of one returning must be just barely more euphoric than the thought of leaving that same friend behind is depressing. Sanji looks sympathetic, and almost equally excited. Yeah, he was rehearsing on the beach. Lucy stood, her hands jetting about in choppy, enthusiastic motions. Then let's go catch him, I can't wait to. Wait. Zoro interjects. I won't let any of you go get him. Nami bristles. Why are you being such a... Shut up for a second, he orders, but his eyes are locked on Lucis. She's staring at him a little disbelieving, like she isn't entirely sure what's going on. But he also sees a flicker of understanding there, and the fact that she knows what he is about to say but wanted to ignore that reality anyway annoys him a little. I won't accept him back here unless he offers an apology. There's a pause, and Zoro knows he has everyone's attention. Lucy and Usopp had an argument, and they both said things they didn't mean, Zoro starts. He sees Lucy flush a little, and he guesses her lingering guilt over that argument is part of what makes her want to forgive Usopp so easily. But that's why Zoro is first mate, why Lucy needs him on the ship. To prevent her from letting her kindness hold her back, among other things. But in the end, Usopp challenged Lucy to a fight, lost, and decided to leave us. Zoro thinks about how independent each member of their crew is, how fully autonomous each are capable of being. In a crew like theirs, making sure everyone respects Lucy properly is vital to their success. Lucy's our captain. Challenging her like that was out of line. Zoro's getting angry again just thinking about that night, that argument, and frankly, it would be better not to have a person like that on board than to welcome him back too easily. Steadily, he holds Lucy's gaze, making sure she understands what he's saying. He can tell she doesn't like it. If the captain loses respect for herself like that, then the rest of the crew is done for. If you let him walk all over you, I will be the next to leave. Zoro doesn't make idle threats, and this is no exception. It would be horrible, but he would do it if Lucy decided she valued one friend who couldn't apologize properly over her dream and the crew's dreams. That way lies complacency, and none of their dreams will wait for that. Zoro cares too much about his dream, hers, everyone else's to not make that threat. Still, when he sees the understanding in Lucy's eyes flash to something close to panic, he feels a bit guilty, but not remorseful. He's protecting her and the rest of them this way. Don't get me wrong, I want him to come back, but not if he has no intention of apologizing and wants to just sweep it under the rug. And, knowing he's convinced Lucy, he turns to the rest of the crew. Nami, as expected, is the most vocal. Zoro, don't let your personal feelings get in the way of this. Her eyes flick to Lucy and back again, and Zoro's gaze narrows. I know he has his faults, but is leaving such a simple thing to do? He snarls. The look on Lucy's face is indecipherable, but Nami seems chastised. It wouldn't be simple for Zoro if he ever chose to leave. Not only did he make an oath to Lucy, way back on that stupid marine base, and a second one after Mihawk, but he cares for them. His nakama. There's a reason he was ready to follow Lucy into probable death to retrieve Robin. A reason he did so without a moment's hesitation. And beyond the bonds shared with the rest of the crew, beyond his oaths, there's the feelings for Lucy that he can't ignore as easily as he used to. Zoro knows he's won the fight when Sanji agrees with him. Nami-san, unfortunately, he's right this time. There's no way we can trust someone who makes those decisions on a whim, Zoro explains. And trust is vital among them. They need it in order to function the way they do. They trust each other to fight, trust each other to win, trust each other to pursue the goals they've set out to accomplish. If the first thing he does is offer his deepest apologies, preferably with a lot of assurances to Lucy that he thinks she's a great captain and he's sorry for being an insecure, then it's fine. But if not, Zoro thinks of the 3 kids that tailed after Usopp back in his hometown, calling themselves pirates. This is not like that. This is their dreams on the line. His, Lucy's, and everyone else's, and Zoro will be damned if he doesn't make sure everyone takes that seriously. We're not kids playing pirates here. This is real. Lucy closes her eyes for a moment, and then resolve spreads across her face. There's still a few days until the ship's complete. We'll wait here, and see if he shows up. If not, her fists clench, and Zoro feels another flash of irritation at their wayward friend. The others may not understand how tightly Lucy clings to people, how she hates to watch them leave, as well as Zoro does, but they have to know she loves them. Usopp has been testing one of her emotional weak points in every way possible ever since their fight. If not, then we'll go on our way. The rest of the group, especially Nami and Chopper, seem uneasy, but they nod, accepting Lucy's order. Zoro relaxes, satisfied. He's sorry to strain Lucy more than she already has been this week. He never wants to do that. But Lucy is the captain, and because of that she can't always afford to be as carefree as she acts. It's Zoro's job to remind her where the boundaries are, even when she doesn't want to see them. He looks at her again, sees the frustration in her eyes but also the acceptance that this is how things need to be, and he thinks he maybe sees a little gratitude there too. Usopp is crying, and looking at Lucy like he's never been more grateful to be alive. And, relieved and happy, all Zoro can think is, oh, there's the moment. You damn brats. Gramps bellows across the waves, And Lucy grins, utterly euphoric now that they've reclaimed Usopp and taken Frankie. Like you can escape me. This kind of thinking is that shitty green kid's influence, isn't it? I'm going to put his head on a pike. You hear me? A pike? Lucy cocks her head, a little confused even as she and the others repel flying cannonballs by the dozens. Geez, Gramps really doesn't hold back. Why is he so focused on Zoro? Robin and Sanji may have implied to Garp that he wants to, quote, defile you. Frankie offers, her newest nakama, detaching his arm as casually as most people blink. Lucy tries to process and freezes for half a second too long. Frankie has to overcompensate for her in order to protect the figurehead. Then she whirls on her nakama, embarrassingly red. Why would you tell him that? Sanji mutters something that has Nami elbowing him hard in the ribs. Because they like to meddle, she explains. Robin looks unrepentant. Lucy sighs, then turns back to Gramps. I can escape because I have a cyborg and you don't. And you can't have Zoro, he's mine. There's a chorus of snorts and chuckles from behind her. Zoro makes a choking noise. Don't you underestimate your grandpa, you ungrateful whelp. Frankie, now, holy shit, what does your grandpa eat? Fuck, why is your family like this? It's like she told Zoro. She picks nakama based on a feeling. That was true for everyone. It took the longest with Robin and she got a really bad start with Frankie, but eventually the feeling arrives and it's like, oh, this one's mine. She sees Brook, alone and conscious in his shabby suit and afro, holding a broken cup and humming a song she heard Shanks and his crew sing years ago. He says, how long has it been since I spoke to a living being? And Lucy hears, please save me, I'm so lonely. And there's that feeling, sparked somewhere between the skull jokes and the nervous tittering as Nami and Sanji abandon their normal manners in the face of something new and fantastic none of them have ever seen before. Nothing specific, just oh, this one's mine. I've never had a female captain before, he exclaims, hands twisting delicately, and Lucy is glad that getting Brook to agree will be much easier than it was with Frankie. What fun. Sanji and Nami share a look that speaks volumes. Yeah, Zoro's going to kill her. When Lucy wants to go and explore the suspicious ghost ship, Zoro sends Nami and Sanji to try and curb her ridiculousness, which is clearly a mistake he will not make again since the three of them returned with a walking, talking, apparently conscious and somewhat pervy, skeleton. You were supposed to stop shit like this, he hisses. Sanji looks uncertain, like even he's not sure he should have given in to Lucy's puppy dog eyes. But Lucy-san wanted. I'm ashamed of myself, Nami moans, looking indeed very shamed. The weirdly polite skeleton approaches Robin. Hello? Would you mind, perhaps, letting me see your panties? Zoro turns to Lucy. We're not keeping your pet skeleton. Lucy just grins at him, like she doesn't see any issue at all with the current situation. He's our nakama. And that's when Zoro knows all hope is lost. Some invisible dude tries to molest Lucy and her archaeologist. Lucy punches him several hundred times in the space of 10 seconds, asks Robin if she'd like a go, and then throws him into the ocean. Zoro hovers afterward, though he probably wouldn't use that word, seething quietly in protective rage while Sanji frets over Robin. Frankie looks 2 parts disgusted with the event, and 1 part long-suffering at the boy's antics. Lucy lets Zoro hover because while she can take care of herself perfectly fine, well, she likes the confirmation that he cares. It makes her feel warm inside, a little more secure emotionally, and a little less violated. She does draw a line when Sanji tries to egg Zoro on though, because Zoro starts reaching for Kitetsu, which he never uses on friends. Usually she lets them fight because something about being men and being monstrously strong men makes her boys unable to communicate properly, and fighting's how they express fraternal love to each other. Lucy finds it frankly adorable, but today they're both a little too close to the edge, so it makes her more than a little smug that she can completely derail Zoro just by grabbing his hand. Oh hey look, it's a dog. Aneki, I don't think that's a dog. Maybe we are going to hell. Just you, love cook. That is indeed not a dog. It is a creature known as Cerberus, the mythological guardian of the underworld, which probably influenced later religions' conceptions of what hell might be but is actually from a more ancient religious tradition which identified it as the realm of the dead in general, not specifically punishment for the damned, although some accounts suggest that was made possible for the most despicable of offenders. Robin-chan's so smart, it looks like a dog to me. Zoro sighs. Lucy, predictably, starts walking toward the dog. Zoro has to restrain himself from pulling her back, knowing she wouldn't appreciate it. He's still on edge from watching her get groped by an invisible man. He kind of wants to pick her up and run back to the Sunny until all the craziness is over. But he's not going to do that because Lucy would be downright furious if she thought he didn't believe she could take care of herself, and even madder that he wanted to keep her from having an adventure. Lucy approaches the three-headed dog, and Zoro says nothing. "Wanna be friends? We are not bringing that thing on the ship, Lucy," Zoro snaps. "But, no," Lucy pouts, but turns her attention back to the three-headed dog. The three-headed dog which promptly tries to eat her. "Ah, Lucy-san." The love cook's doing that thing where he wrings his hands because he knows Lucy doesn't like it when he butts in, but his sensibilities are demanding he help. Lucy seems completely unbothered, and just punches the dog in the belly so hard he makes a crater in a nearby wall. "I'm gonna train you," the dog whines. "Sit." The dog is lying flat on his back and doesn't move. Lucy kicks the dog. The dog sits. "Down." The dog kind of slumps. "Beg." The dog whines, giving her 3 sets of pleading looks. Close enough. Zoro watches the proceedings with a strange breed of long-suffering disbelief he's only discovered after meeting Lucy. He's always known Lucy as good with animals. Like, weirdly good. Animals love her. Even the ones that start out bloodthirsty. She befriended that dog in Orangetown. She got that whale to stop killing himself. And then there was the thing with the giant vicious rabbits in Drum, the snake in Skypia, and various monsters they've left in their wake. She's like a brutal version of all the fairy tale princesses he heard about back in East Blue. Watching her train a supposedly mythological beast into submission is, somehow, the one that takes the cake. Honestly, this girl just gets more ridiculous as time goes on. "Hitoryu," Lucy whips around. "Zoro?" She sees the flash of katana, and a sturdy frame, but something is off about it. Still, it feels like Zoro, if that makes any sense. But kinda fuzzy, too. Like she has a cold, or Zoro's not really there. Lucy steps forward, reaches out a hand. "I'm over here." The dust clears and it's not Zoro, but his voice. "You," the voice is Zoro, but the face is not. "Know you." "What's your name?" she asks, because why does this zombie have Zoro's voice, Zoro's attacks? "You're Lucy." "Yeah, I am." She steps a little closer, but then a rush of air, and everything goes black. To think the one Laboon was waiting for all that time was that skeleton, Zoro mutters, still in a state of semi-shock. Frankie sniffs in agreement. "I love that bone guy." And Zoro can't help but feel a little ashamed, judging the skeleton so quickly. "He's perfect, isn't he?" Lucy gushes. "He's a musician with an afro, he's a skeleton, and he's Laboon's nakama. I don't care if I have to drag him on board, he's coming on our ship." Frankie sends Robin a vaguely resentful glare. Robin appears not to notice and inspects her nails, making a little squeezing motion with her hand. Frankie pales and abruptly stops glaring at Robin. Well, he supposes that's it then. Zoro makes his way over to the side of the ship, and jumps to the dock. "Huh? Zoro? Where are you going?" Zoro doesn't stop. "We've got one more shadow to find, yeah?" Lucy sends him a beautiful, blinding, proud grin. Zoro is unaccountably certain that he'd do just about anything for that grin. And really, it's not like he could do anything else now that they know the guy's story. Brooke has probably had the shittiest life of all of them, and that's saying something, considering Robin. And Nami. And Sanji. And, okay, all of their lives have sucked at one point or another. But Brooke seems to have suffered the longest stint of protracted misery of the crew. Least he could do is make sure the guy could go outside. Geez, how does Lucy just know these things? Shisui, the Maitu once carried by a legendary samurai. With you as its master, it should be satisfied. He'd heard tales of him before, growing up in the dojo. Sensei occasionally told them stories of the legendary masters of the past. The ones whose names reached heaven. The old samurai was a thought he'd be weaker too, if he was telling the truth. But then, maybe, Zoro is just getting stronger. It's well made. Zoro's not an expert in the crafting of swords, but he's handled enough weapons to discern quality on feel alone. The blade is black, with a dark red hamon cut in a pattern Zoro's never seen before. The hilt is plain black silk, like a negative version of Watto's. The scabbard is dark too, with red roses inlaid in its length. Shisui is perfectly balanced. It's heavy, but it doesn't drag his wrist down when he moves with it. But for now, Zoro meditates a little, getting used to the blade, trying to think of how it sounds with the other swords. Where Yubashiri balanced the more vibrant voices of Watto and Kitetsu, Shisui is a too heavy ballast. The sword will not help Zoro use it or any of his blades. It is deep and dark, but not inherently violent. It has none of Kitetsu's bloodlust, it has none of Watto's viscous clarity. Instead, Shisui is like a void, a black hole, endless. It will eat anything which gets too close, and will not stand to be ignored. He hums at a note almost too low to hear, and Zoro feels it vibrate beneath his breastbone. When he entered the Grand Line, Zoro was not capable of wielding all three at once. Now, he performs a basic thrust. The shockwave ripples in front of him, bursting out as he cuts through air itself. He takes up Sandai Kitetsu in his left, and Watto Ichimonji in his mouth. In his head is a cacophony of voices as Kitetsu's shrieking, ripping squeal for blood meets the low, empty darkness of Shisui, and the high ring of Watto's ice. Head, heart, body. These three are him. Watto is the head, the one that guides movement, guides life, that thinks and retains purpose, that must remain steady if she is to cut cleanly, if he is to deliver his promise, achieve his potential. Kitetsu the heart. All emotion is here. All his inner darkness pours through the blade, is tempered in his soul, is restrained in the motion of his arms. Kitetsu's bloodthirstiness does not overwhelm him because Zoro knows it as his own, has held it since childhood. Shisui is the body, swift, heavy, inevitable. This is where the will is tested, where it breaks or triumphs. The cacophony swells, overwhelms, and subsides into euphonic epiphany. Yes, Zoro can wield these blades. I can't believe they put Lucy-san's beautiful shadow in that hideous creature. Well, they did, so shut up and fight, Zoro growls. Honestly, that damn cook is so annoying. Oars roars, and it nearly breaks Zoro's eardrum. The monster swings his left fist and the topmost tower of the mansion is ripped from the foundations. Geez, I know Aneki has a temper and all, but this is too much, Frankie grumbles, brushing himself off. He looks pretty unruffled for a guy that just got thrown face first into a brick wall at approximately the speed of sound. To be fair, Lucy doesn't usually bring down castles when she's pissed, Nami adds, swinging Klima tacked over her shoulders. Well, there was that one time, Chopper looks a little worse for wear. Usually doesn't mean never, Nami retorts cheerfully. The sea witch gets bloodthirsty sometimes. She can be weirdly protective of Lucy though, so maybe she's just pissed about them manhandling their captain. Zoro's actually kind of upset about it too. Who knows what could have happened to her while unconscious? Hey, Chopper-kun, do you think it will work in reverse? Robin asks. The whole group turns to look at her questioningly. Chopper seems confused, but then jumps in comprehension. Oh, I guess I don't know. Maybe? Lucy's been in there longer, and we don't have a proper distraction here. Maybe if there was a pile of meat or something? What are you talking about? Zoro asks warily. Well, I think it's worth a try, Robin asserts, coy smile on her face. What's the plan, Robin? Usopp queries, panting a little. Well, as it turns out, sometimes the zombies will remember certain people. We might be able to use it to our advantage. Nami turns around, but her hands don't stop spinning her staff. Oh yeah, Sanji's zombie remembered me. Sort of. Mostly he just wouldn't let the other zombies attack me. Frankie shrugs. If you have a plan, be my guest. He makes a sweeping gesture to the island-sized giant that is currently the body of their diminutive captain's shadow. Robin gets up on a stone platform as if to be more easily seen. With the destruction around them, it doesn't make much difference, especially not to the giant. Excuse me, Sencho, can I have your attention for a moment please? Robin yells cheerfully. Zoro rears back with everyone else. What are you doing? Robin-chan, don't draw his attention. The giant peers down, and blinks stupidly. Eh? What do you want? I'm trying to pummel you. Robin is undeterred. I just wanted to make sure you knew who you were attacking, that's all. The giant waves his arm in front of them, which causes winds just short of hurricane-force gales. I'm attacking you, the armed people. Robin seems utterly unruffled. Yes, but you do know our names. For instance, I'm Robin. That's Nami and Chopper and Frankie. The giant cocks his head. So, Zoro grips Kitetsu and Shisui's hilts. Come on, we tried this already, he says urgently. Robin's so close to the giant that if he decides to punch her, well, they won't make it in time to get her out of the way, let alone stop him. Robin just gives a small smile. Well, I don't know if you know, but this, Robin points at the swordsman, is Zoro. Zoro, the giant says slowly. Oi, what's the big? Nami wraps a hand around his mouth. Shut up, she hisses, this might work. You know Zoro, don't you, Sencho? Robin asks sweetly. Nami slowly takes her hand away. The giant looks sort of blank. Like he does when he acts the most like Lucy. Zoro. Talk to her, Usopp urges, elbowing his back. Zoro glares. Why me? He growls. What do you mean, why you? Just talk to her. Zoro doesn't know why they think this will work, but, Lucy. The giant stares at them, face utterly blank. Robin takes the lead again. Sencho, you want to know what I heard? What? I heard Moria is trying to hurt Zoro. What? Zoro asks, because what kind of tactic is this? Hurt, Zoro, yes, Robin intones gravely. I believe he wants Zoro to marry one of his zombies. The giant just stares, head cocked to the side, then. Ruah. Well, as it turns out, Robin's faster than he thought. Oi, Robin. What were you thinking? He snaps. Chopper and I confronted yours and Sanji's zombies earlier. So, the dark-haired archaeologist looks a little put out as she leaps from rock to rock in her quest for safe ground. Well, it worked with yours. It takes Zoro a second to figure out what she means, but when he does he blushes so hard he nearly overbalances on top of Shisui. They win against the giant, against Moria. They're tired, but they win, and gather around their exhausted, reckless captain like fretful birds. Then a bear shows up. Pirate Hunter Zoro, the low, emotionless voice intones. Let's start with you. Zoro is shaking, tired, at the end of his rope, but he can still stand so he can still fight. He stares down the Shichibukai, takes in the Bible, and wonders if this is a man who also justifies atrocities for the sake of the greater good. The weaker pirates, the ones who just got their lives back because Lucy took out Moria, cry out in his defense, but Zoro silences them. If he can't fight his own battles, he's not worthy of being the world's greatest. It's fine, stay back. He curls his lips into a wicked grin of anticipation that's just a little forced. It's me he wants. You have quite a reputation, the bear man acknowledges. I've heard that Straw Hat Lucy has acquired a skilled crew. The Shichibukai tilts his chin. You guys are causing a lot of trouble. You were unknown before, but now, it's not only the captain who's getting noticed. Usopp calls for him. Zoro, stop, you're injured, you can't fight right. Zoro tells him, hunching into an aggressive pose. Zoro never believed in God, but he can believe in fate, destiny, whatever. He knows his. When the world shoves you around, you've got to stand up and shove back. It isn't like you can do anything by just making excuses. If I die here, then I'm a man who could only make it this far. 2 swords this time, and he lunges forward. Nitoryu. Rashomon. He lands in a low crouch, an acceptable variation on the form, but it still pulls at his injuries. There, that should, a shadow. He's above, Zoro flips out of the way, but the attack catches him on the shoulder and he spins away. He lands safely, if inelegantly, and looks behind. There's a paw print impressed on the earth beneath his previous spot. He looks up just in time to see the bear push his hand towards his head. Zoro dodges, barely, but feels air pressure rip past his face and the sound of rock crunching, and he turns to see another paw print impressed on the cement behind him. Zoro, panting, turns back to the bear. The Shichibukai's face is like stone. That's when he knows they're in trouble. I will spare your lives, the Shichibukai intones, hands glowing with the pressure of the matter compressed between them, if you give me Straw Hat Lucy's head. Everything in Zoro goes cold. Give him Lucy. Give him Lucy, who still giggles at Sanji's smoke rings even though she's seen them 1,000 times now, who bugs Nami into lecturing her whenever the redhead gets too somber, who asked Robin to teach her how to read because apparently bandits don't bother, and who listens in rapt attention to every one of Usopp's stories and believes every lie because she knows he needs someone who does. Lucy, who lets Chopper bandage her even after she's healed just so Chopper feels better about her ridiculously accelerated healing rate, who let Frankie adopt her as his new little sister because he missed his underlings back at Water 7. Lucy, who saw a lonely skeleton and knew she wanted him as Nakama before she even knew his name. Lucy, who sometimes sits near Zoro when he's napping so he can rest easier, who touches him freely, like no one else ever has, like he didn't know he needed, who looked at a man crucified and said him, "I want him." Lucy, who never brushes her hair and still looks beautiful, every day, so much so Zoro's chest constricts when he sees her. Lucy, who has never been afraid of his darkness, never did anything less than trust him. Lucy, who smiles and laughs and makes Zoro feel lighter, untethered, free. Lucy, who is so strong, so powerful, so possessed by conviction, that she warps reality itself to suit her. Lucy, who is constantly looking forward to the next horizon, who meets every adventure with cheer and enthusiasm, who is the closest thing on earth to sea and sunlight personified. And this man wants them to give her up, even if honor would allow it, even if it wasn't a terrible insult to their entire crew to even ask. "No way in hell," Zoro screams, and he's completely unsurprised to hear everyone else join in chorus. Ursus shock. Zoro is alive. Zoro is alive and he's awake. Footsteps. Lucy. The bear man raises his paw to her, covered in bandages from her armpits down, and wearing nothing but her shorts because her orange top didn't survive the disfigurement ingesting the shadows caused. Zoro can barely see, but he runs toward Kuma and Lucy anyway. "You won't touch her. She Sun. He lands behind the Shichibukai, breathing hard. Everything hurts. He's so tired, he can barely grip his sword. He lands in an informal pose, Sensei would disprove, but he lands balanced, and hopefully he's taken the bastard's arm off. But then he hears a sound, like the whir of a pulley spun too fast. Kuma's arm is stitching itself together. Damn it, he pants. You're a cyborg, like Frankie. Red light gathers in the Shichibukai's mouth as he turns toward Zoro, and he knows he cannot be hit by that. Kuma fires, and Zoro dodges under the beam, light a gash before his eyes, but when it hits the rock behind him the shockwave sends him flying, up and over and out of control. His head is so close to the thick beam of destruction his shirt singes, and he lands head first in a slab of concrete. Aching, he tries to get up to his elbows, desperate to stand. I am a pacifista. An incomplete human weapon, created by the world government. The world government. The same people that took Robin, that Lucy declared war on. Is that what this is about? Enies lobby? But, no, that didn't make sense. They want to make a show about that. Executing the person who so openly defied them. And the papers didn't include the details. Nami even theorized that they didn't know about the flag, since everyone who saw was killed by either a straw hat or the Buster Call. No, this is something else. You're not made of steel, Zoro hedges, fighting for breath, fighting to even move his legs. Just a guess, but he's pretty sure steel would melt under a power like that beam. Also, he can cut steel. I was created by Dr. Vegapunk. He's a genius working for the Marines. We would be at a disadvantage without him. Zoro almost wants to laugh. What is with overpowered assholes trying to claim they're the underdogs? But the truth is, he's in a bad way here. No one else is awake, and even if they were, everyone's injured. Zoro can barely move. The only thing keeping him going is the horrifying idea of Lucy being killed while unconscious, not even knowing she's in danger. There are so few times Lucy needs Zoro to protect her. She's so strong on her own she rarely struggles with any physical obstacle before her. Zoro protects her emotions, sure, and the rest of the crew so she doesn't have to worry, but she's never needed him to win a fight for her. And yeah, occasionally it feels a little emasculating considering his less than platonic feelings for her, like on Jaya, but only when he wants to hurt people for hurting her. Her strength doesn't make him feel inferior, it awes him. Lucy's never been in the line of fire like this though, unable to protect herself, and depending on Zoro and only Zoro to keep her alive. Why must you take Lucy's head? He asks. If there's one thing Nami and Usopp have taught him, It's that sometimes problems that can't be solved with a blade can be solved with his head. I have given you my best offer, the bear says lowly, like he is disappointed in their refusal. But that's bullshit, because it wasn't an offer at all. None of them, not a single one, would ever dream of betraying Lucy like that. Lucy, who would give anything up for any of them, who claimed them so strongly that she carved a place for herself in each of their hearts. The Straw Hats could no more betray her than they could betray themselves. Kuma's choice was no choice at all. And even less so for Zoro, because, what would you give up for her, I wonder? Ace asked him all those weeks ago, on a cold night in Alabasta's desert. More than I should, he said then. Everything, anything, he'd answer now. There's nothing Zoro wouldn't give for her. His mind, his body, his soul. If Lucy lives, he gladly gives it all. He'd give her even his dream. I'm sorry, Kuina. My name will not reach heaven after all. I understand, he pants. He can barely keep his eyes open, and he's straining for consciousness, but he prostrates himself with as much dignity as he can. But if you must take a head, let it be mine. But I swear to you, hers will. We can watch her do it together. Then you'll understand why I let our dream go for hers. I'm not worth as much as her yet, he acknowledges, but I swear, if you don't kill me here, I will be the world's greatest swordsman, one day. And you will regret your choice then. You'll like her, Kuina. Even with such ambition, you would sacrifice yourself for her? I can't call myself a man if I do any differently. I couldn't look anyone in the eye, and certainly wouldn't call myself the world's greatest if I can't even protect my captain. Zoro looks up, feeling fire burn from somewhere deep in his chest, and he thinks this is fate. Lucy will be Pirate King. And if the world doesn't know it now, they will, one day. So long as she makes it through this day, and the one after that. Kuma's face is inscrutable. Is it love or loyalty that pushes you so far? Oh, both, definitely, a new voice answers, and Zoro's stomach swoops unpleasantly when he sees Sanji limp, as dignified as he possibly can on a broken leg, to him and Kuma. But can you blame the poor bastard? Lucy-san is a remarkable woman. Sanji turns his glare on Zoro. Asshole. What'll happen to your ambition if you die, You idiot, Zoro groans. He's barely conscious, he can't have a fight with Sanji now. The cook doesn't seem to give a shit, and takes a stance right in front of him, between Kuma and the swordsman. And what do you think Lucy will feel if she finds out you died for her? You. Of all people? Sanji shakes his head, almost chiding. I can't let you go around making ladies cry. You brutish swordsman. Sanji turns his attention to Kuma. Ignore the moss head. He's a fool for Lucy. Take me instead, Zoro growls. I know the Marines are still taking me lightly, Sanji starts, and he's shaking so badly Zoro doesn't know how he's keeping his voice steady, let alone standing. A bone is protruding from his left leg. But one day I'll have the highest bounty on the crew. Kuma says nothing. Zoro's not even sure he blinks. Well, what are you waiting for? Sanji goads. Take my life. The ladies will still cry. But Lucy-san will be inconsolable if you take the idiot swordsman. No response. Sanji is clearly losing patience and strength. Oi, he says, and the cook doesn't look at him. But Zoro can tell from the tone alone that this isn't for Kuma. Say goodbye to everyone for me. Make sure you tell everyone I'm sorry to put them out. You'll need to find a new cook. Zoro can't take it anymore, and with a final surge of adrenaline he leaps to his feet and slams Shisui's hilt into Sanji's side. As if he'd tell them goodbye for the cook. How dare Sanji try and push that on him? How dare Sanji think so little of him? Like Zoro would ever be able to look at any of them, knowing he let Sanji die for him. As if he'd ever do so in the first place. Sanji jerks, wheezes, and Zoro realizes he broke a rib somewhere down the line. Bastard, he growls, gripping Zoro's shoulder. But the swordsman stands undaunted, and Sanji's grip is weak and weaker by the second as it slowly sips off. Until he falls, strength abandoning him, to the concrete below. Zoro says nothing and stands before Kuma, unsteady. He can't move. He probably can't even sit without passing out right now. He removes Kitetsu and Wado Ichimonji from his hamarki, and tosses all three swords to the concrete before him. That's my last request, he promises. I won't fight. I have no plans to, it's not a trick. Kuma stares at him for another immeasurable second, and then finally, sighs. My honor would be stained if I took Straw Hat's life now. There's relief, but Zoro does not give in to it. I'm in your debt. Kuma turns to Lucy, and pauses with his massive hands over her. I will not harm her. That's good, because Zoro can't stop him anyway. Kuma picks Lucy up, snatching her by the waist. She's limp in his hands, like a rag doll, and Kuma holds her carefully, respectfully. In exchange for my leniency, however, I will make you suffer. That's fine. Zoro practically expected that. Then Kuma presses his paw to Lucy's chest and he involuntarily wobbles forward a step, indignant. But then, it's not sexual. Kuma's not groping Lucy. He's not hurting her either. He's... A large, paw-shaped bubble billows out of Lucy's back. It's dark red, translucent, the size of a building. Kuma sets Lucy down gently on a clean slab of concrete. I have expelled from her body all pain and fatigue. And this is all the damage caused in her fight with Moria. If you wish to die for this girl, you'll have to take it on yourself, and share her suffering. Kuma straightens, looks at Zoro. With your injuries, it will mean certain death. And it will be agony. Kuma swipes a finger through the bubble, and a tiny circle of Lucy's pain floats toward him. Have a taste. The blob gets closer and closer, and even weary as he is, his instincts tell him to dodge, not to touch it. Zoro doesn't move, and the little circle floats into his chest, right over his heart. Pain. Pain like he's never felt, shooting through every joint, every muscle, every ligament. His body seizes with it, jerks and spasms as he's set on fire, sent through hell, and he screams. It goes on, immeasurable, until he finds himself face down on concrete, unable to feel much of anything at all. Lucy, what did you do? This is Lucy's pain. This is Lucy's suffering. This is the blood she stains her knuckles with and the steam that pours off her skin. Chopper was right to be worried about those techniques, it seems. Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd take an incredible toll on her. His instincts won't let him show his back to the enemy, and he rolls over. Well, Kuma asks, Is this supposed to be a punishment? This pain? This is only pain. Zoro will take it gladly, because it's Lucy's, and while Zoro can handle it, and Lucy probably could as well, Zoro would rather die than let it return to her, and today is the day he lives up to that sentiment. Perhaps Kuma knows this. Perhaps he is kind, and giving him one last gift to give to Lucy out of respect. He takes her pain and gives her his life. But again, this is only pain. And yes, it hurts, and Zoro may end up insensate after this, but... Perhaps Kuma knows this. Perhaps he is a sadist who prefers to kill in the cruelest, most malicious way possible. By giving him hope at the last moment, only to snuff it out. This was never a choice. This was fate. He makes a fist. Just, let me pick the location. Kuma nods, and waits for him to struggle to his feet and set off. They don't make it very far. Zoro is wobbling, unsteady, and the ground is uneven. But it's far enough away that he won't wake anyone with his screams. The bubble of pain follows Zoro, and when he can't walk any farther, he stops. Here's fine, he tells the Shichibukai. Kuma lumbers away. Goodbye, Roronoa Zoro. Zoro says nothing. He's already given the man his thanks. Zoro waits until the lumbering steps have faded, and then turns to the bubble of Lucy's pain. I don't want to die, he thinks. And it's true, he doesn't. He wants to go gather his nakama, hold Lucy until she wakes up and maybe for a while after, take everyone out to the sunny and celebrate a job well done. 2 Shichibukai down and 5 to hopefully avoid until they're stronger. Have a bottle of sake and have a fight with the cook and listen to Frankie try and fail to flirt with Robin, who will enjoy it but say nothing to indicate she recognizes his interest. Then you'll sleep on the lawn deck under the stars, because they're beautiful down here on the Grand Line. Beautiful. Especially when Lucy's with him and her dark eyes are sparkling and the moon turns her tanned skin pale. And she looks like one of those creatures from the stories Kuina pretended she didn't like. A nymph or a siren, bent on stealing men's hearts. Maybe that's only to Zoro, maybe she's only after Zoro's heart, and maybe she claimed it already a long time ago, but Zoro's only starting to figure it out now and he wants to stay and keep learning what it means to care for this girl the way he does. He wants all that, wants it desperately. But he wants nothing more than he wants Lucy to live, for everyone on the crew to live, go on, pursue their dreams at any cost and with their lives at stake. Sure, his honor is on the line, He couldn't have done any less than offer his life for Lucis and still lived with himself. But what he thinks about now is his friends, the dreams they hold so dear, and their relentless pursuit of them. And he gladly dies for that. But maybe not. Kuma insisted that this would kill him, and maybe it will. Maybe Lucis' suffering is too much for anyone but Lucy to bear. But it's pain. Only pain. And surely pain is not itself death. Either way, Zoro doesn't care. Zoro can't call himself her first mate, her nakama, even, let alone anything else. If he's not willing to lift the burden, he'd do this if her life wasn't on the line. And he'll bear it, so he can do it again tomorrow. Zoro shoves his hands into the orb of pain, and thinks tomorrow. He screams. He screams until his throat runs raw, and then he screams until it's bloody, until air scrapes past torn vocal cords that vibrate uselessly in his windpipe. He quakes, body jerking with each blast of new pain that slams against him, through him, which blows out joints and makes him twist in agony. Blood spurts from his old wounds and new wounds as they inflict themselves upon him. They paint the rock and earth around him dark red, and he loses track of what he's seeing, feeling, sensing at all. He thinks he bites his tongue, but he can't be sure, isn't able to discern one injury from the infinite number that he's accrued. At a certain point he can't even feel pain blossoming sharp and heavy across every nerve ending, firing through every synapse and lighting up his brain with an unnatural precision and focus. I swear, I will never lose again. Is that okay with you, Pirate King? That's right. He can't lose. He promised not to, and if he can win here, just win against pain, then he can continue on tomorrow. The pain is relentless though, endless, and Zoro isn't sure if he's even conscious or not. Zoro really needs to live through this, if for no reason other than to tell Lucy to stop pushing herself this hard, or at least backing her up more frequently so she doesn't have to. This is unendurable for anyone who is not strong-hearted, who does not have a purpose and people to protect. Oh, this isn't Lucy's pain, this is Lucy's strength. This is every blow she fired in their defense, every bruise she took to contain the beast that wished to slaughter them. This is her protection, her love for her crew, and if he can't bear it for her now, then he's been deluding himself without realizing it for a long time. Lucy deserves someone who can stand by her side, and if Zoro can't be that, then Zoro doesn't deserve the job. Miraculously, he still stands. And even though he knows it's unlikely he'll ever take another breath once this is over, he thinks if he falls that will be the end. He'll lose, and pain will consume him until there's nothing left. So he stands for uncountable seconds, in immeasurable pain, and fights to keep his feet as blood spills from his mouth and ears, and as he loses the ability to see because his brain begs him to simply black out, give up, end it already. But Zoro is resolute, and stands with his back as straight as possible and endures. He doesn't even realize it's over until Sanji comes running, can feel no difference in the agony. Every shallow breath hurts, feels like a newly broken rib. What's with all that blood? Sanji asks frantically, and when he gets no response, hey, are you alive? What happened here? Only pain, Zoro thinks. It was only pain, and I survived it. No, he can't breathe. Can't speak past his ripped vocal cords. Can't move muscles he doesn't remember clenching. Nothing at all. Sanji reaches for him, pulls him down toward the earth, and Zoro lets him, though it's agony. I'll go get Chopper, Sanji promises, and starts to run off, but Zoro coughs and he waits. Lu, there is no guarantee Kuma kept his word. She's fine, you love-struck fool. Hypocrite, he thinks. Like you didn't try to do the same. But the relief is too great, relaxes him too much, and Zoro finally, blessedly, fades into numb black darkness. Lucy wakes, and feels amazing. She feels amazing. Is that right? She isn't sure. She remembers Moria, the shadows, the giant, gear second, then gear third, at the same time. She didn't even know she could do that, and Lucy should not feel amazing. Lucy should not be conscious. Lucy levers herself up, not a twinge in her joints, not a pull on any bandage. She feels like she does when she annoys her navigator too much and Nami banishes her to Zoro watching duty while he's napping, which inevitably turns into taking a nap with Zoro, which sometimes involves cuddling, and then she wakes feeling warm, fuzzy, and well rested. This feels like that, but without the Zoro part. Where is Zoro, anyway? Everyone else is waking up. Did he get stuck under a rock or something? Chopper, Chopper, get over here, it's Zoro. That's Sanji. Sanji never sounds like that. Lucy, Chopper, and everyone else spread to the cook immediately, and Lucy sees blood everywhere, like it spilled in a fine mist across every surface. A white shirt ripped from muscled, quivering shoulders that's stained glistening red. A black bandana covering a tan forehead, closed eyes. Zoro, she whispers, because she's never seen him like this before. Zoro doesn't lose. He promised. Who? It doesn't matter, Sanji cuts in, and his eyes hold guilt that he can't quite conceal, not from her. Chopper, what do you need? Lucy could push the issue, could ask. Sanji obviously knows something, but Zoro tries to draw breath, and unconsciously chokes as his chest seizes. He's right. Zoro doesn't need vengeance, he needs. Lucy kneels by Zoro's head, removes the bandana carefully, and ties it around her own arm. Chopper rushes in with bandages and antiseptic, tells Sanji to put pressure on the wounds bleeding most profusely. Lucy draws her fingers through his hair, matted with blood in places, and presses her forehead to his. Live, she thinks, begs, prays, even though Zoro would roll his eyes at that. Live. That'll be enough to win. She remains there, hunched, cradling her swordsman, until 2 hours later when Chopper declares he'll wake again. When Chopper declares Zoro mostly stable, he and Usopp carry him on a stretcher up to the main dining hall. It took a few hours to stabilize her swordsman, so everyone has already gathered there, and the mood is buoyant, even among the Straw Hats, now that Zoro is going to live. Lucy is no exception, because the atmosphere is infectious, but she talks to Brook, convinces him to come with them, convinces him it's fate that they should meet. They're close to the Red Line, close to the New World, and theirs is the only ship that's going to make it to Raftel rather than turn back in defeat. Brook agrees, tearfully, and plays the most heart-rending rendition of Bink's sake that Lucy's ever heard. But it's beautiful, too, and Lucy's so glad he's coming. She socializes, enjoys herself, even dances with Usopp and Chopper. But she can't stop herself from eyeing Zoro out of the corner of her eye. She can't help but keep watch over him, and eventually, once everyone's been satisfied with her company and she has to distract herself from distracting herself, she gives up watching from a distance and kneels next to him, taking one of his hands in hers and gently grazing the burnt skin there with the pad of her thumb. No one will tell her what happened. They told her how another Shichibukai showed up, Bartholomew Kuma, and how he threatened to take Lucy's head while she was unconscious. Then he set a bomb off, and when everyone woke up, he was gone, and Zoro nearly dead. Lucy's glad everyone's alright, she's glad she's not dead, but she can't shake the feeling that Zoro was supposed to be, or she was, and it makes her desperate to know what happened after the bomb went off. It makes her more than a little annoyed that some of her crew members are keeping that information to themselves. To be fair, not all of them know, but some, she's sure Sanji knows. He wears his heart on his sleeve, her cook, and Lucy's always been able to read him. There's guilt in his posture, shame, frustration. Sanji knows, certainly. Robin, also, probably knows. Her archaeologist is too curious for her own good, too determined to leave any mystery alone. And Robin's so much smarter than Lucy. She will have figured it out already. Chopper may have an idea, having treated Zoro. Nami is the same way, she's just shrewd. Usopp and Frankie have no idea, she's pretty sure. They both seem too carefree. Brook is actually pretty hard to read, but he doesn't seem agitated about Zoro, hasn't been looking his way the whole party. Lucy assumes Zoro knows what happened, but he's asleep, and he's not waking up. So Lucy stays within sight of Zoro, just in case he decides to wake. She enjoys herself, drinks Zoro's share of sake, and tries not to let worry eat her insides. Zoro is strong. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Zoro hasn't woken up. It's been 2 days, and Zoro hasn't woken up. By now, Zoro is usually running around despite Chopper's many protests, unable to sit still and refusing to be cowed by injuries. Sometimes he takes a nap on the deck, just to show he can, but he watches over Lucy and the others too. And Lucy knows because she fell into the ocean after Skypia and Zoro was the first one to dive in and get her, but because he was still kinda injured Sanji ended up having to fish them both out. Lucy has slept this long. Lucy slept nearly 3 days straight after Eni's lobby, and then the week after she slept in 24-hour intervals, only waking up a couple hours at a time. But Zoro never has, not once. Chopper is worried. Lucy keeps telling them Zoro will be fine, that he'll wake up anytime now. She has faith in him, she always has. If Zoro's heart is beating, he'll fight his way to consciousness and wake. He promised, after all. But, at the same time, Lucy can't help it, she worries. It's been too long since she's seen silver-gray eyes peer at her sleepily or watched him stifle a laugh at her and Usopp's antics or seen him inform Robin about the culture and traditions of a traditional dojo. It's been much, much too long and she misses it. She misses him. More than she ever expected to miss a person. Carefully, and doing it exactly as Chopper showed her earlier, Lucy wets a washcloth and drags it across Zoro's chest, shoulders, and face. Zoro's fever is high and hasn't shown any signs of breaking. Chopper says it's from shock, that his body took on too much trauma at once. But Lucy is very careful, and uncharacteristically gentle with him. Gentler than she ever is with Zoro. There's very little unmarred skin left on his body, and she worries that the sting of water in his cuts is causing him more pain. It's intimate, this motion. Taking care of Zoro this way. She would do it for anyone in her crew, but with Zoro it feels almost domestic. Things with Zoro always feel different than they do with anyone else. She finishes with the washcloth and wets it one last time, wrings it carefully, and folds it neatly before setting it across Zoro's forehead. His face is red, but not like it gets when he drinks a lot of sake or he stays out in the sun too long. It's splotchy, pallid, unhealthy. Her job done, Lucy pulls up a chair and twines her fingers with Zoro's. They've held hands before. When Zoro is conscious and happy but pretending to be grumpy, and he lets Lucy reach out and take his hand and lead him somewhere, or sometimes when she naps on him they fall asleep like that. But Lucy's never done this before, where she laces her fingers with his broad and calloused palms dwarfing hers. She squeezes, like she's trying to make a fist around his hand, but he remains limp, unconscious, unresponsive. It feels like that should work. Like all it should take for Zoro to be better is a little attention, a lot of willpower, and maybe a nap. That's all it's ever taken before. The door behind her opens, and Lucy looks up to see Chopper walk in with some medicine. Lucy gets up without has been adamant about sterilization, and insists that Zoro wouldn't want to be seen as weak by anybody, especially not Lucy. Lucy would protest. Zoro is the strongest person she knows, but Lucy thinks it's probably just a ploy to get her out of the infirmary for a little while at a time. She's already tried arguing the point before and was met with the collective well-meaning insistence of her entire crew, so. As she leaves, a flash of red catches her eye, and Lucy bites her lip. Sanji brought Zoro's swords back the night before, and set them at the foot of Zoro's bed. But the thing is, they haven't been cleaned and Zoro hates it when they haven't been cleaned, because they can rust and become dull. Zoro also doesn't like it when other people touch his swords. But he let her H and Ryunosuke Ubashiri before, so maybe. Lucy makes a decision, and takes up all three swords. She grunts a little because they're surprisingly heavy, and leaves. She makes a pit stop in the boys' quarters, rifles through Zoro's stuff until she finds the cleaning supplies, and then takes the swords over to the helm's deck, and sits behind the sun lion figurehead. Robin said there were such things as sun bears, so the crew collectively decided that Sunny is a sun lion. Lucy still misses Mary, but Sunny is her precious nakama too. And his figurehead is big enough that sometimes she can convince Zoro to come and nap up there with her. Settling in, Lucy lays all three swords out carefully, still in their scabbards. Wado Ichimonji has the least decorative one, although Lucy knows the dull white leather protects a beautiful silver katana. Sandai Kitetsu has a dark red scabbard with gold furnishings, and it complements the burgundy cord wrapped around its hilt well. The new sword, Brooke said its name is Shisui, has a black scabbard with rosewood inlay. You guys are really pretty, Lucy tells them. Zoro said once that they're special, that after getting Kitetsu he can hear their voices, and Lucy takes that to mean they're at least a little conscious. Lucy doesn't want them to be scared. I know I'm not Zoro, but he's hurt right now, so I'm going to take care of you, okay? It'll be a relief to Zoro when he wakes up. She takes Shisui up carefully, and slides the scabbard from the blade the way Zoro does, holding the hilt with her right hand and moving the scabbard with her left. The black sword is heavier than the others, and longer. Darker and denser. Beautiful. But Lucy was probably right to clean the swords today. There's blood and gore still splattered on the surface. Left alone it would damage the metal, and Zoro would be furious. Lucy's happy to make sure that doesn't happen. So she takes the soft paper Zoro uses, puts Shisui carefully in her lap, and gets to work. Shisui, I know you haven't known Zoro long, but usually he isn't like this, she tells the black blade, voice just shy of breaking. Usually I'm the one who gets hurt. Zoro's always so strong. Nothing knocks him down, ever, and if they do he gets back up again. There was this one time where Mihawk, Zoro's goal, nearly sliced him in two and he still fought against this bastard named Arlong the next day, even though he shouldn't have been conscious, even though anyone else would have died, she doesn't say. It's too close to the present situation. Anyway, he's really strong, and dependable. And just, Lucy cuts herself off again. You'll like him, she assures the dark blade. Shisui finished and oiled, she carefully slides the sword back in his scabbard and picks up Kitetsu. You're beautiful, you know. Even if Zoro calls you a problem child. This sword is covered in even more gore than Shisui. The intense blue gleam of the hamon is still visible though. He was really happy the day he got you in Yubashiri. I mean a lot happened in Logia Town, and he was kind of worried for me for a bit there, but after that he bragged about you guys. It was cute seeing him so excited. He was so happy Sanji couldn't even pick a fight with him. And for some reason, that of all things is what makes her cry. She hunches over Kitetsu, a cursed blade, and breaks a little at the thought of Zoro smiling, proud and easygoing and laughing a little that day on the Merry. How beautiful and carefree and happy he was, and now. Her chest constricts, and she bleeds. And now he's lying in her infirmary, injured and possibly in a coma while Lucy is fine when she shouldn't be. She doesn't know what happened, she maybe never will, if everyone refuses to tell her. But the thing is, Kuma has the power to deflect anything, even a direct attack by one of Zoro's blades. And Lucy can't look at Zoro without thinking me, it should be me. And it hurts. It hurts in ways she didn't know was possible. In ways that make her want to scream and claw at her chest and sob. Lucy doesn't cry loudly. She's never been a loud crier, even when she sobs. But the tears fall on Kitetsu's blade and she instantly feels a little bad. Kitetsu is a sword. He probably doesn't feel grief. I'm sorry Kitetsu, she mumbles, still unable to stop crying. I love him, you know? I hate to see him like this. It takes her a second to realize what she said and then. Oh, she loves him. She's in love with him. But of course she loves him. She's loved Zoro since their eyes first met, since she heard his name. He smiles. Any of his smiles, from his wicked smirks to happy grin to full-on laughter. And she can't breathe sometimes because he's beautiful. And Zoro isn't just beautiful because he's handsome, he is, but that's not it. He's beautiful because Lucy knows how hard he works to keep himself in check, knows that he trains every day so he can protect them and use the parts of himself that scare him for things that help other people. He's beautiful because he has those dark things inside him. He's beautiful because he has a soft spot for kids that he'd never admit to. Beautiful because he likes to take naps and gets lost and makes attack names out of food puns. And because powerful as he is, he chose to live for his dreams, his ambitions, freedom, rather than greed or violence. And Lucy loves him. Loves him so much it aches. She's crying in earnest now, soaking Kitetsu's cursed blade with her tears. But she can't seem to stop and she's not Zoro. She hears no screeching voice of the blade telling her to calm herself. So she just holds onto the sword across her lap and cries. Lucy loves all her nakama with a terrible sort of abandon. She's loved them since she was a child and promised they'd never be alone, and she's been ferociously protective of them ever since. With Zoro it's the same, but it's different too. With Zoro there's the same joyous claim. Nakama. But there's something else too. Want. Desire. A different kind of ownership. A different kind of bond. He's a partner, almost, rather than someone who needs protecting. Zoro promised not to lose, ever, and she promised not to give up, and that's always been the deal between them. Lucy has known for a while that she likes him, wants him, even. At first she thought it might just be attraction, but then it wasn't, and she knew that, but this is the first time she's ever dared to call it love. What does she? Does she tell him? She wants to. She's reasonably certain it would go well. Then maybe when she gets the urge to kiss him or do more than kiss, they can do it. And Lucy won't have to repress her feelings anymore. But maybe he doesn't feel the same way. Lucy's good at reading people, but she's never tried to figure out if someone likes her like that or not. And then if she tells him and he rejects her, and their whole relationship is awkward. What if he never wakes, then what will she? Lucy's hands slip on Kitetsu and she hisses as the wickedly sharp blade slices through her right palm. It's deep, but not so much that she needs stitches. She has no desire to go see Chopper about it. No inclination to go inside and explain her tears, so she quickly rips off the hem of her shirt and ties it around her wouners over everything, even, unfortunately, Zoro's bandana. She'll have to wash it again. It was covered in his blood when she pulled it off. The tears run thick and fast. Sorry, Kitetsu, she mumbles again, and this time she goes for the cloth and wipes the blade down gently. It hurts more with her hand cut open like it is. When she's finished, she returns the blade to his scabbard and picks up the third and final blade. She takes Watto up carefully, reverently. This is Zoro's favorite sword, his oldest companion. Lucy would sooner cut her own arm off than damage the gleaming blade. It's dark outside, and Watto catches the moonlight beautifully, brilliantly. I bet you miss Zoro too, Lucy says. Watto has a few nicks in the blade that the others didn't. Lucy won't be touching those, wouldn't know how to go about fixing them without damaging the swords. Zoro's always so careful about taking care of you guys. He takes care of everyone, you know, especially me. He's so good about it that sometimes I forget to take care of him, too. But he keeps me grounded, you know, he keeps me thinking straight. Like when I wanted to go get Usopp back at Water 7. He makes me a better captain. I couldn't do any of this without him. It's unlike her to overthink things. Usually it's more the other way around. If Zoro was awake right now, awake and healthy and the one cleaning his swords instead of Lucy, she would have told him the moment she realized what she feels. That's what she's been waiting for, after all, ever since that night where Nami was sick and she realized she has more than platonic feelings for Zoro. At first she just didn't know what to do with her feelings and she was content with the way things stood, and so she waited. And then she was less content but she still didn't know what she wanted, so she continued to wait, and now, if Zoro was awake, she'd kiss him and see how it went. But Zoro isn't awake. Zoro is ill, and Lucy can't shake the feeling that it's her fault entirely, even though that makes no sense, and the only reason she even realized she loves him is because she's out here on the helm's deck cleaning his swords and wishing he was here to do it himself. She should probably tell him. She doesn't know how much longer she can keep it to herself, at any rate. Lucy doesn't exactly stop crying, doesn't stop feeling like she's about to explode, but after a few minutes her breathing calms. And, her job done, she sheaths Watto, and clasps her hands in the prayer pose Zoro sometimes does when he's being his most traditional. I want to thank all of you for protecting him, she tells the swords. I know he can be bullheaded and jump in without thinking, but it's because of you guys that he doesn't get hurt worse than he does. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for saving me from this worry and fear more times than I know. Something shifts in the air, and for a second Lucy swears she can hear a dark, trembling chorus before it fades out again. She picks up the swords, carefully as always, and starts walking toward the infirmary. Chopper should be finished with the medicine now, anyway, and so it's a good time to return the swords. Zoro wouldn't want them to be too far away when he's like this, and Lucy doesn't want to leave him alone for the night. When she gets there, Chopper has indeed stepped out, and Lucy is relieved to see that Zoro's skin looks a little less splotchy, a little less feverish. She lays the swords at the foot of his bed, where he'll be able to feel them when he wakes, and resumes her seat next to him. She takes his hand in hers, gripping his fingers rather than his palm this time, and reaches up with her other hand to trace his hairline. If he was awake right now, Lucy would embarrass him. She'd tell him she thinks his face is beautiful when he's so peaceful like this, how attractive she finds the arch of his lips, the shape of his brow and angle of his jaw. She'd tell him she thinks his hair is ridiculous, but it suits him. She'd tease him about his patchy stubble, and listen to him laugh in that soft, quiet way he sometimes has, and feel fond warmth seep through her. She'd tell him she loves him. She'd kiss him on his cheeks, his nose, his eyelids, Everywhere as she tried to describe the exact nature of her feelings, the depth, the well, tried to pin down exactly what love is to see if he felt it for her too. But Zoro is not awake, and Lucy doesn't know how to say any of those things. So she squeezes his hand once, kisses him on his temple, right near the hairline, and thinks I'll figure it out one day. Soon, it's a promise. It is a long time before she falls asleep, but never once does she release his hand. Consciousness returns to Zoro slowly. At first it's just a sense of vague discomfort. Nothing specific, just off, something is off. Then Zoro realizes that he realizes something is off, and he pushes past the cottony disorientation in his head to try and establish what it is. As soon as he does that, the moment he gains even a slight bit more awareness than before, something sharp and painful twinges in his chest, his stomach, his shoulders. But Zoro has never been one to back away from a challenge, and he pushes for consciousness again, and this time the sharp pains from before twist into aching remnants of agony, and his eyes open as he grunts. He can't see anything, his eyes haven't adjusted, and the shaft of light that hits his brain feels like a shiv to the temple. Zoro, you're awake? That's, Lucy? It's like trying to breathe in a sandstorm. Zoro. A hand squeezes his, small and calloused. His eyes are adjusting a little, and he can make out the dark smear of her head. The L happened? I'm not sure. Here, let me go get Chopper, he grunts. If Chopper comes back he'll want to do tests. Zoro doesn't have the energy for tests. Plus, Lucy. He's disoriented and weak and in pain and Lucy. Lucy seems to get it, because after a moment she relaxes, and squeezes his hand again. He only realizes his eyes have adjusted more when he can make out her scar, and the way it pulls on her skin when she smiles. You slept a long time, she scolds, but she's grinning so hard it doesn't really feel like admonishment. Longer than usual, even. Leave. So mean, Zoro. Then her face crumples a bit and her eyes look shiny. I'm glad you're awake. You slept almost a whole week. Zoro jerks a little in surprise, and it sends a spasm of pain through him that aches across his body. A week? What the hell? Moria. Lucy down. A blank face. A deal. Pain. Kuma. Well, it looks like you lived. I lived, he tells Lucy, a little surprised. Lucy's smile is wide even though her eyes are watery. I kept telling Chopper you would. He was worried, but I knew you wouldn't lose. Embarrassed, Zoro looks away, ignores the twinge in his neck and shoulders. At least his head is starting to clear a little. Yeah, well, I promised. And yeah, he didn't really know if he was going to live or not, but saving Lucy's life would have been a win. He just managed to live on top of that, so bonus. I cleaned your katana for you, Lucy babbles, and she reaches over to the foot of the bed where he can see 3 swords resting. I've watched you do it a lot so I think I did it right. I didn't try and do any of the nicks though, since I wasn't sure how. Then she freezes and looks a bit guilty. I know you don't like it when people touch them. It's fine, he tells her. If it was anyone else it might be an issue, but Lucy, well, Lucy's different, thanks. Actually, the katana sound a bit quieter now than they normally do. Especially Kitetsu, who's usually screaming at him. They're just as present in his head as usual, but there's something, settled, almost, about them. Weird. Lucy still looks a bit nervous as she offers him the swords. That's also weird, because Lucy is the most unrepentant person he's ever met. He's starting to wonder if she dropped them or something. He reaches for them, tries to take Shisui's hilt in his free hand, but he can't quite lift his hand off the bed. Sharp pain shoots through his shoulder and sets off small fireworks of agony throughout his body, running close along his spine. He grimaces in response. Lucy's hand squeezes his fingers again, and that hurts too. Hey, Zoro. Are you alright? He exhales slowly, trying not to scare her or snap at her. She seems worried. Yeah. Then he takes a closer look at her. She looks tired, like she hasn't been sleeping. Her hair is even more tangled and mussed than usual, and judging by the way she has stuff strewn around her chair. You been here this whole time? He asks. It's not that he's surprised. Exactly. He saw how she was when Nami got sick. But, well, he's surprised. Lucy can barely sit still for a few minutes, let alone a week. Lucy's expression is a little hard to read, but she's smiling. You were sick. And it's really as simple as that, isn't it? something warm and viscous seeps through his gut, and Zoro finds himself relaxing a little. This was worth it. More than worth it. Fuck you, Kuma. Hey, Zoro. Zoro returns his attention to her. Her expression is that oddly blank one she gets sometimes when she's figuring something out. Do you really not remember what happened? Shit. If she's asking, then she obviously doesn't know, which means the cook was useful for once and didn't tell anyone about his deal with Kuma. She can't know. It'll hurt her more if she knows. She'll feel guilty and start trying to protect him in battle, and he can't have that. That would make his surviving this pointless. And Zoro doesn't want to describe it, doesn't want to explain what happened, or how it felt or how he feels. He can't drag Lucy to that place in his head. No, he tells her. No clue, he's never lied to her before. Something in Lucy's face tells him she noticed. He holds her gaze, doesn't flinch under the scrutiny. Okay, and somehow it sounds more like an agreement than an acknowledgement. The other set of big guys showed up who wanted to kill me. Do you remember that? Yeah. Shit, he doesn't want to talk about this. Doesn't want to keep lying to her. But Kuma doesn't matter. Zoro plans to forget about him entirely when he's recovered. He shouldn't haunt Lucy, too. There's a strange tension in the air. It's not something he remembers ever feeling with Lucy before. It makes him anxious, tense. He hates it like he's never hated anything before. But he's not going to back down from this. Telling her would hurt her, and Lucy leans over to press something. His bandana, into his palm, and gently, feelingly, presses her lips to the corner of his mouth. Zoro freezes because Lucy is kissing him. They've never done that before, not once, not ever. But now her hair brushes his cheek. Her hand shifts to twine their fingers together and her chapped lips burn into his skin, soft and clumsy as the gesture is, branding him down to the bone. If he tipped his head to the right, even just a little, he would catch her lips with his in. She pulls back, the kiss lasting only a moment. There's an expression of determination on her face that he's only seen when she's facing down an enemy, but this time it's much fonder. He can't speak. He can't even breathe. He doesn't know what happened just now and he's not sure what it means. Is Lucy trying to say something? Or is this just another evolution of Lucy's tactile nature? If so, he's not okay with it. Not at all. Especially if every time she does it he feels like this. I don't know what happened either, Lucy tells him, a smile playing on her lips and understanding in her eyes. His expression must be hilarious because it looks like she's holding back laughter. But I'm glad you're all right. She squeezes his hand again, pressing their palms together. Oh, so she knows something. She probably even suspects some of what happened, but she's trusting him, too. And she, maybe, feels the same way he does. She's a terrible pirate. She's the best pirate. Zoro squeezes her hand in turn, her small palm disappearing inside his larger one, and her fingers standing out against his tanned skin. He can feel the calluses in her palms press against his own, and the worn fabric of his bandana between them. He's never detested weakness in quite the way he does in that moment, because he can't quite squeeze as tightly as he wants to. Yeah. It's not much, and for other people it wouldn't cover anywhere near the whole spectrum of problems and emotions they're trying to resolve, but for them, it's enough. For now, Lucy's eyes say, no matter how warm they are. 3 days later, Zoro finds himself low. He finds him in a graveyard, which maybe is to be expected. But this particular skeleton is sitting before a grave for his fallen friends, and not in the ground next to them. Instead he's serenading them with a violin. Normally, Zoro would leave Brook dead, and stay away while the man grieved. Today though, Zoro has his own dead to bury. Zoro walks up to the grave, standing next to Brook. Every step is painful, aches deep in a way it never has before. It's made apparent every time he moves. The incident with Kuma is easily the closest he's ever been to death before. His fight with Mihawk doesn't even come close. He didn't die though. He kept his promise to Lucy, managed to bear her pain for her, and maybe proved himself worthy as her nakama and as a man. He doesn't regret his choice. He's never done anything he regrets. He kneels next to Brook painfully, slowly, but not weakly. He has to use Yubashiri's scabbard to steady himself a little, but he manages. The skeleton stops playing and looks up at him. Oh, he exclaims, you startled me, are you alright now? Zoro thrusts Yubashiri's remains in the ground, and rests the scabbard against the hilt. I'm fine. Just overslept a little. Brook does not go back to playing and looks instead to the broken blade, and that is. What, did he find it disrespectful or something? Zoro kind of wishes the skeleton was capable of making facial expressions. He can't tell. Well, Brook is a swordsman. He might get it. Yubashiri, a dead katana. He clasps his hands in a prayer position. I'd like to take the opportunity to give it a proper send-off. Lucy offered to help him with this back in Water 7, but this feels right too. Plus, Lucy's been clingy since he woke up, and it's not that he minds having her attention so totally focused on him, it's just, this feels like something to be done alone. Or nearly alone. Brook may be Nakama now, but he's still mostly a stranger. Brook makes a muffled noise and Zoro glances up at him. What, is it really that offensive to have his dead katana laid to rest among Brook's friends? But the skeleton says nothing, and changes the subject. You know I'll be sailing with you, right? Zoro knew that was going to happen from the moment Lucy declared him to be Nakama. Looks like Brook finally took them up on the offer. Zoro's just glad he didn't have to steal anyone's pants this time. Bad luck for you, then. Brook looks startled, if Zoro's reading his body language correctly. Wah. Being in this crew can be a bit of a handful, he jokes. His side twinges and in his head he adds ruefully, I would know. I am well aware, I will do my best until the day I die, again. Brook declares happily. And then adds conspiratorially, but you know, if I wasn't before, your example would have displayed it well. Zoro tenses immediately, his head whipping around to the gentlemanly skeleton, he knew. I woke after the bomb went off, but I was pinned by rocks and could not move until Chopper-kun lifted them for me. I witnessed the kind of man you are, and was impressed. Few are quite so honorable. Embarrassed, Zoro turns back to his sword. I would appreciate it if you didn't tell anyone, especially Lucy. The musician bowed his head, a sign of deference and respect, not surrender. I understand. Lucy-san was quite distraught while you were asleep. Zoro doesn't like to think about how Lucy must have been. Usually he's the one who comforts her when shit like that happens. She shouldn't have worried. He understands why she worried, of course, but she still should have known better. She said she did know better, and she certainly doesn't need to worry now. She really has been clingy, and she keeps looking at him like she has something to say, but every time he asks she avoids the question. It's not like her, and it's getting on his nerves. She doesn't have to treat him like an invalid, or like a freaking cripple. He's fine. She insisted that you would wake when you felt like it, Brook corrects gently. But I dare say helplessly watching those you love suffer has a detrimental effect on anyone, no matter the depth of their faith. Zoro looks at the grave. Brook is, implying something Zoro doesn't know how to deal with. Lucy loves all her nakama. Brook hums. Yes, but each in different ways, I should think. Zoro doesn't know what to say to that at all, so he says nothing. Brook seems to realize that's as much as Zoro is willing to share for today. At any rate, I think it is safe to say the depth of your devotion to her is equally returned, Zoro-san. Zoro sighs. As if he even knows what that means. Please stop talking about this. He did what he did because he couldn't have done anything else, not for a single one of his nakama. Lucy never would have forgiven him if he just let one of the others die in front of him. Hell, he wouldn't have forgiven himself. And if there was one person in the world he'd sacrifice everything for, anything at all. Well, a life was a small price to pay, considering all the things he'd be willing to lay at Lucy's feet. The skeleton chuckles, and he drags his bow across the violin strings once for a high-pitched note that sounds like a laugh. I'm sorry if I've distressed you. I just thought you might like to know. Zoro says nothing, because the thing is, he does know. Kind of. He and Lucy are, more than just friends or even nakama, at this point. They're something else. And Lucy kissing him the other day, an event which has not repeated itself since, only proves she feels it too, she must. But Zoro isn't ready for feelings like that. He witnessed the depth of his own just a few days ago. And sure, he may have known for a while now about that, but there's a reason he never mentioned it. He doesn't know what it'll do. To them, to his dream, to hers. He's unwilling to risk those. He's unwilling to provide a weakness like that for their enemies, especially now, after Kuma demonstrated so well what his are. It's fine, Zoro tells him. I'm going back to the ship. I will remain here for a while longer, Zoro-san, and thank you. Zoro stands shakily, and raises a querying eyebrow. He could swear Brook is smiling. For my shadow. Oh. Well then. I got a sword out of it. The skeleton chuckles. Indeed. And he plays music just a little too quick to be somber. As Zoro walks slowly, painfully back to the ship, he thinks, privately, that if the Straw Hats ever had a funeral, the music would sound a little like that. He thinks they would have gotten along with the Rumbar pirates well. Kampai. 9 tankards clink together, and Lucy watches with some amusement as her nakama tip their drinks back eagerly. Some with more experience than others. This is the 4th or 5th round, and the lightweights among them are starting to display their total inability to hold liquor. Lucy decides it will be good practice for them. They are pirates, after all, it only makes sense that they drink. Lucy takes a large sip of her own, and wipes her mouth with the back of her hand. It's nice to be leaving Thriller Bark. It seems like they've been there for ages, which stinks. Thriller Bark is not Lucy's favorite place. But they had to stay because of Zoro. He was too sick to be traveling, and they had proper ingredients for medicine here. The man in question is currently leaning on the ship railing, near the table. Zoro usually prefers to stay out of the way and watch the group rather than actively participating in the merriment. Today he seems even more reserved than usual. Lucy covertly fingers Ace's Vivre card in her palm. It's smaller than it should be. Much smaller. If it's really connected to Ace's life force like Lola said. Well, it doesn't have to mean anything. Lucy bets that hers looked pretty bad after Ini's lobby, and she was fine. And she meant what she told the crew, that Ace has his own adventure and that he'd be mad if she interrupts. She's just Ace's dumb little sister, he'd be embarrassed if she staged a rescue. Besides, she trusts Ace to take care of himself. And die, and he keeps his promises, so it'll be fine. Out of the corner of her eye, Lucy sees Zoro rub his shoulder. Pain tightens across his face, but there's no other sign that he's in any discomfort. She didn't tell him. Lucy was going to. She decided she was just going to tell him when he woke up, because Lucy's not one to keep her feelings bottled up, and it's good news. She thinks he'll agree. She was just going to come right out and say it, I love you, Zoro, because she figured it would go over pretty well. But then he woke up, and he wasn't himself, still isn't, exactly. Oh, it wasn't anything obvious. He still behaved mostly like himself, except, well, he lied to her, about not remembering anything. Lucy doesn't exactly know what happened, but she knows Zoro wasn't telling the truth. And yeah, she trusts him to have a good reason for doing so, but it still threw her. And he was also in a lot of pain. Zoro did a good job hiding it, but she could tell. Can still tell, even watching him from the other side of the ship a week later. It wasn't the right time. Not for that. She kissed him instead, because she couldn't just let things continue on as usual. He never made a comment about it. Never brought it up again, even on occasions where they've been alone. She curls her fingers around Ace's Vivre card, and inspects the cut in her palm granted by Kitetsu. Maybe because Kitetsu is a cursed blade. It's been healing at what Chopper would probably call a normal rate. Whatever happened to Zoro was bad. Very bad. He's been getting this look in his eye like he's not really there, and Lucy just knows he's thinking about whatever happened while she was unconscious. It's not fair to shove her feelings at him right now, especially since Zoro isn't very good at dealing with feelings in the first place. Lucy wants to do this right. She wants it to be a good thing, that she feels this way. She doesn't want Zoro to feel pressured or anything. She wants him to be happy. And right now, there's too much going on in his head for that to happen. They have time. There's still half the world between her and the One Piece. Lucy slips the Vivre card into her hat, folding it carefully under the ribbon, and the cut tugs at her skin, but the sting barely registers. After this cut heals, she decides, I'll tell him then. Lucy watches her nakama start filling tankards for another round, and grins when she realizes Nami and Zoro are outpacing them all at round 10. Something fond and warm fills her chest as she observes, and something soft and stronger than steel fills her heart when she watches Zoro try fruitlessly, yet again, to evade his bandages. Chopper isn't having it though, and has been watching Zoro even closer than Lucy. In his semi-intoxicated state, Chopper hangs Zoro over the side of the ship to stop him, a move he would normally never get away with, and which just goes to show how bad off Zoro really is. But it will be fine. Zoro will get better, they'll all get stronger, and Zoro will never need to hurt like that again. Lucy grins, and looks out toward the horizon. It calls her, and something in her blood answers, always. It's both more and less potent than what she feels for her crew, for Zoro. It's just fate, maybe. She takes another sip of her tankard. She likes that. Fate. Maybe she wouldn't if she were someone else, but things usually work out for her.